This is The Rich Eisen Show.
Boom!
Live from The Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
General manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is my buddy Mike Mayock.
Derek Carr is our quarterback, and we expect them to get better.
Today's guests from NBC Sports Boston, Tom Curran, ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski, Golf Channel analyst David Feherty, New Orleans Saints quarterback Jameis Winston, plus co-creators of the Showtime drama Billions, Brian Koppelman and David Levien. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
All right. Oh, no, this show will not come up just short. It will not come up just short. Welcome to this edition of The Rich Eisen Show. I'm seeing myself on camera for the first time on youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show for the day. First time seeing myself for the day. And I say hello to our Sirius XM Dan Patrick Show radio listeners. And I'm noticing that the collar's a little droopy, and it's going to drive me crazy for the next 3 hours. But I just got to focus.
I like the jacket, Rich.
I just got to focus. Good to see you, Chris Brockman.
Hey, buddy. What's
Good to see you, Mike Del Tufo.
Good to see you, Rich.
Hey, welcome to this radio show, this TV show, this streaming show. Don't forget streaming show.
I mean, God, don't shortchange us. Come on.
Welcome to this radio show, TV show.
There's 3 platforms.
Yep. Rich Eisen Show.
Oh.
That's what it's called.
That's your name.
Welcome. And we've got ourselves a fun Friday.
Let's do it.
In store.
This is The Rich Eisen
Thank
Show.
you. Appreciate that.
Just in case no one wants to credit us.
Appreciate that, Mike. Really do.
Stay classy.
Don, take the leaderboard if you don't mind. So you couldn't spell Wojnarowski on line 2, huh?
Wojnarowski's 11 letters. Now, McConaughey is 11 letters.
So
However,
yes.
the 2 W's kind of...
Oh, the
Yeah.
Woj?
We would.
You couldn't fit
I don't
it
think
on
it
one
would
line.
have fit now.
So it says Woj.bomb up there.
The dot was special.
You put the dot there.
TJ added the dot. I don't know why you ad-libbed with the dot.
There's no, all right. Woj bomb is
Can we
up
take
there.
the dot off? I mean,
He's first up on the NBCSN hours of our show, and then line 5 because he couldn't fit both creator writers
Koppelman
of Billions. Brian Koppelman and David Levien are going to join us together.
A lot.
As Billions returns this weekend.
Cannot wait.
I do love this show.
Especially how the last season ended. Oh, baby.
I do love that. But I do bring this up with them later on because I did record this conversation with them earlier in the week from desk right position, Studio 1 in the Rich Eisen home office. And Susie and I are going to have to probably rewatch a couple of the episodes from last year, which is over a year ago.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And it's dense. It's intense, and you just got to, I guess, get yourself up to speed a little bit. And so, at any rate, those guys are joining us. In between them, David Feherty. It's a home and home. David and I are going to do a home and home. He's doing this show at the end of hour number 2, and then as soon as the third hour of the show's over and we head off to our weekend, I'm going to stay here at this desk position, and I'm going to Skype in.
Oh.
I have not Skyped since I Skyped with my parents, I think, 9 years ago when Xander was 2.
Wow.
Skype's still big.
Skype's still big?
Yeah.
Skype's still a thing.
In the Zoom
Zoom
world,
is taking
the Google
over,
Hangouts.
and the Google Hangouts, and Microsoft's coming out.
By the way, the number of times that I'm invited to some sort of meeting, or Susie is, and then we've got to download some
program.
Yeah. There's a lot of
We're
them now.
late. We're like 5 minutes late.
There's a thing called House Party. That's a very...
Yeah, House Party is one.
I use that on Fridays.
My oldest kid's on that.
I'm House Parties Friday nights.
Yeah.
Are you really?
Oh, yeah. I got like 20, 30 people in a big window. Yeah. Watching me.
Who? Oh, you mean your Friday nights? Your Friday nights.
When I do the Friday night party.
Are you
party.
doing that tonight?
Yes. You want me to invite the kids in?
I don't know. We can. They've already watched The Masked Singer 3 times. Oh gosh.
Like the latest episode 3 times already?
Yes. Dude.
They love it.
It is huge in my household.
Wow.
Jameis Winston's on the program. Saints quarterback, Jameis Winston. He'll be on this program. Top of hour number 3. That's how we're rolling. Tom Curran, Tommy C is going to be calling in about 16 minutes' time. Talk about what the Patriots' plans are at quarterback. Talk about what the New England Patriots might be doing at the quarterback position. What another thing he wants to talk about too, Chris, is coming up in the next week. Patriots fans are going to vote on who's the next inductee in the Patriots Hall of Fame, and Bill Parcells is up for induction next week. Chris, would you vote for him in the Patriots Hall of Fame?
Who's that? I was talking
to Don.
Bill Parcells.
I know this is an issue in New England right now.
It's a big issue in New England right now.
I know, it's big. Here's the deal. Did take them to a Super Bowl after they had been irrelevant for a very long time. The Drew Bledsoe-led team in 96 lost to Brett Favre. The way he left, not great. Certainly rubs a lot of people the wrong way still to this day. It's dicey, man. I'm 50-50 on Parcells.
He got your guy started, though.
What do you mean?
Belichick. That's his guy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, but Belichick, he took him to the Jets.
Yeah.
Like, they just bolted. They just left town. They're like Baltimore colted us.
That's the point is that Curran, I think, is going to be making, too, later on in this hour, is that he talked about leaving during the Super Bowl.
During Super Bowl week. Oh. You're supposed to be getting ready for Brett Favre and this Packers team that was so freaking good. Obviously, they beat the Pats. And you're talking about possibly leaving town and this being the end? Get out of here with that.
Okay, I got you.
And I know a lot of time has passed since then, but man, those wounds still run deep in New England for Bill Parcells.
So we'll talk to Tom Curran about that. And we'll talk about Andy Dalton. That's coming up in about 14 minutes' time. One of the things that we will be talking to Adrian Wojnarowski about, did you see his story yesterday in ESPN on ESPN.com that there's a ton of conversation going on behind the scenes in the NBA? It's May 1st. And this was the date by which the commissioner said he would not entertain anything going on for this season until this point. That now is the time where they're going to start really diving in about what can be done and what isn't to be done. And today was the day by which teams that are in states with more relaxed stay-at-home orders or soon-to-be unrelaxed stay-at-home orders, like, say, the state of Georgia. The Atlanta Hawks should be able to show up in their team facility, I guess certainly if they want a manicure and pedicure, depending on what the governor there in the state of Georgia says is essential and not essential. And certain teams in other states can't get in. And what would that mean competitive-wise, competition? If there is a competition to be had later on this year, is Las Vegas the spot where a lot of people thought maybe they'll have a bubble community where everyone will quarantine for weeks and then you can go from a court to hotels and back and forth. Now you're hearing the heavy rumor is Disney World would be that spot. Orlando, Florida would be that spot, since obviously one of the two major partners of the NBA is ESPN and the Walt Disney Company. Would the NBA do that? If so, when?
It's kind of funny how Vegas is kind of taking a back burner. It's now shifted to
Disneyland. And I guess if you read Woj's article, and I just love the way he's such a great wordsmith, man, and the way he artfully puts it, that there was concern that some of the younger members of the association might not adhere to what would be considered a strict quarantine in that town. There might be something else going on.
Yeah, some vets have shown concern about that. Yeah.
Basically, they're just thinking somebody's going to go spearmint rhino on them. Although I don't know if that's...
Are the places open?
They're
not
open.
Yeah,
they're not open.
I don't know.
They're not open.
that are first.
That's the way
rhino?
I inartfully put it right there.
Yeah, we had a Brazzers and a spearmint rhino.
Oh my gosh.
We're on YouTube. It's fine.
Yeah, we're on YouTube and Sirius XM channel 211, Dan Patrick Radio. So I just don't know. And basically that's what Woj's article was. The NBA does not know. They don't know. The players don't know what there would be consensus for. The league does not know when they can do something particularly yet. And Woj will join us coming up in the middle of hour number 2 to have a conversation about all that. And also, obviously, The Last Dance episodes 5 and 6 are on ESPN Sunday night. at 8 and 9 Eastern time. And Woj, and this will be very interesting to talk about with him, Woj had Jerry Krause on his podcast before Jerry Krause passed away. And as you know, I've been, Jerry's the heavy in this.
It definitely is.
And I can't wait to see basically how this does play out over the next 6 episodes, because I want to get from somebody. Jerry Krause doesn't do what Jerry Krause does unless Jerry Reinsdorf allows him to do it, right? It's not like Jerry Krause was the owner of the Chicago Bulls back in the day. Oh, is that what I didn't say? Barkley said that on Dan's show, huh? Yeah, I mean, the fact is that Reinsdorf, you dust for Prince and you only find Jerry Krause's on there.
Jerry Reinsdorf is coming off very well so far. Well, I mean, so far.
He sat down. We didn't see him in episodes 3 and 4.
Correct. He was in 1 and 2.
And so, again, Jerry Krause doesn't... look, they might have been lockstep in the way to run something. But if Reinsdorf wanted Pippen paid to make sure that Pippen didn't do what Pippen did, Pippen would have gotten paid.
Could have easily ripped up his deal and done a new
Absolutely.
one. Instead of after the fact, 20 years later, being like, oh, I told Scotty not to sign that deal.
What do you got for a poll question idea over there, Chris?
It's May 1st. I don't really have an idea.
Oh, gosh.
No, I don't know.
All right.
They're running a virtual Kentucky Derby this weekend. This is a huge... The first weekend in May is always a huge sports weekend. Usually there's a gigantic boxing match this weekend. Floyd Mayweather used to always fight on the first weekend in May. There's usually NBA playoff. This Saturday, it was always amazing with Kentucky Derby, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, usually a boxing match. I know I'm definitely missing all of those things.
American Pharoah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
the Derby would have been this
5
weekend.
years ago, I think, is the anniversary of that.
American Pharoah.
I don't get enough credit for American Pharaoh's Kentucky, Triple Crown win, I think.
Come on, thanks.
No one had heard of that horse until I mispronounced its name. Is that safe to say?
You know what? We have a good friend of the program that just dialed in at 844-204-RICH, and anybody who wants to call can call in. All of the great, wonderful carvings, the wood carvings that we have here.
yes.
Okay. That you have in front of you. You've got our
in my
paddle
office.
right there.
Paddle
Show
right
it
on
off.
the
Show it
desk.
off to the camera right there.
This bad
Awesome.
boy.
All right. Tom in Louisville. How you doing, Tom? You got line
Not
one?
too bad.
Yeah. How are you, bud? You good?
We're holding in there. We're holding in there. Melissa says hello.
Right back at your lovely wife, and we love everything that you do for us here. And I know when Chris just brought up the Kentucky Derby, that's something you want to talk about. We would have been all hanging out potentially this weekend.
It's from Thurby yesterday, the Oaks today, the Derby tomorrow, and of course I would have called in today because I'm a little concerned about Hank Goldberg. I haven't heard much from him. I know he's out there.
We got to check in with him for sure.
Got to get some idea how things are going. But I do want to reassure people so far, the Derby will be run in September on the 5th, which is good. It's going to be a different vibe, of course.
Of course, I would say, yeah.
The Churchill Downs does actually open up May 16th, but like so many fan experiences across so many sports and entertainment, there's just going to be no fans. So jockeys, horses, staff.
I know,
online.
right? And it's something that we all have to do right now. But September 5th, if we're knock on wood, everybody, we can actually do that. That will be a great day. That will be a great day for the Kentucky Derby to actually see it. And hopefully things can happen in a way where as many fans can be there too, Tom, including you and your wife and the whole great city of Louisville and fans everywhere, man. That would be great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, typically, Tom Brady would, if he were in Tampa right now, he would be up here this weekend making, I imagine, decent bets. I don't know.
I know.
Warren Moon would come to town. I would give him a cigar at a party some Friday night. It's just a little different. I think we all just got to get used to events are going to be a little different going forward.
Well, I appreciate you calling, Tom. Say hi to your lovely wife, Melissa.
Absolutely, all the best, and you guys, the entire team there. You got the transition from what you were doing before to what you're doing now.
Thanks.
It's better. You guys, it's incredible.
Thank you, Tom. And I know you've been there since day one, and you're there since day today, and you'll be there day tomorrow. How's your company doing in this environment?
Things are going well. It's always hustling, always busy. One thing, Rich, could you put a coaster under the cup?
Oh, okay, hold on a minute.
A coaster.
You mean the Cedar Spills coaster that I have that's from you is what you'd like me to do?
Yes, absolutely a coaster. I was watching you on so many platforms the past week. With drinks in hand. You don't use coasters.
Okay. It leaves little rings on the table.
Walk around the house and just go nuts.
Leaves little rings on the table. Can't have it.
Got to use a coaster. All the best, guys.
Take care, Tom.
Tom. Thanks, buddy.
By the way, this is his coaster right here. Look at this beautiful piece of leather.
Not the one that J.K. Simmons
snagged.
Five-finger discounted.
Five-finger discounted. So what is the poll question for the day that you've got over there?
Well,
I do like it. So, I mean, like, which do you miss the most?
What are you missing the most this weekend?
Guess what? NASCAR returns in 2 weeks with no fans.
Yep.
NASCAR is planning on running, what is it, 7 races in 11 days. 2 Cup Series races in Darlington on May 17th and 20th with an Xfinity race in between it on the 19th. And then they'll move to Charlotte, what appears to be Memorial Day weekend, where there'll be a Cup Series race on the 24th. There it is. An Xfinity race, a Truck Series race, and then a Cup Series race. And it's possible that they will have qualifying in Charlotte. They'll see how it works in Darlington. They're not planning on having any qualifying. They're just going to run the race. And everybody's going to have to wear a cloth mask. No one who wears a cloth, and anyone who doesn't wear a cloth mask means they were not allowed to be there. They'll get booted out. It's being called a work in progress. The executive vice president of NASCAR, Steve O'Donnell, and chief racing development officer said on Thursday. Teams' work areas in the garage will be spread out to comply with social distancing guidelines. Spotters normally working shoulder to shoulder atop the press box will be spread out to comply with social distancing guidelines. Motorhomes will be allowed in the racetrack infield, but instead of occupying one enclosed area, they'll be spread out throughout the infield. There will be live pit stops. The pit stops, high priority, obviously, during the formulation of return to plans in order to make the race experience look and feel as normal as possible. You got to have live pit stops, I guess, right? So there you have it.
Yeah, so at Rich Eisen Show right now, what event normally held this weekend do you miss the most? Kentucky Derby, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, and the mega boxing match.
Okay, very good. There you have it. At Rich Eisen Show to vote on that. That's our poll question. Again, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN will be joining us in the next hour. David Feherty, Jameis Winston, and the creators of Billions, the writers and creators of Billions, David Levien and Brian Koppelman will join us in hour number 3. Man, I do love that show. Joining us now here from NBC Sports Boston is our friend Tom Curran. How are you, Tom?
Tremendous, Rich. How you doing, buddy?
We had to give you a call. We had to phone you up because we have been talking about that quarterback room in New England since the day Brady left, and you kept telling us it's Stidham. It's going to be Stidham. And now Andy Dalton is a free agent. And I'm wondering if the cash-strapped Patriots would figure out a way to bring Andy Dalton to New England.
I really don't know if they are anxious to do so. I mean, I was told early on in the process that, and when Brady was still a Patriot, that the Patriots were not going to be going that holdover veteran-type route, mid-tier guy. So that's what I've stuck with. I haven't been disabused of that. So I think we saw last week with what they did in the draft that they feel okay about Stidham. To me, Andy Dalton is just a souped-up Brian Hoyer. It's the same kind of guy. And what are you going to get? See, that's the thing, Rich, is trying to figure out what the Patriots are. You know, Mike Florio tried to say, okay, who are the 10 teams that Sean Payton was talking about as in terms of our consequential in the NFL? Because there's 10 every year. And Mike immediately included the Patriots. And I wonder if that's even true. I wonder if the Patriots are a consequential team in 2020. Because when you look at the status of their roster, I don't think they are. They don't have the cap room to bring on Andy Dalton, A. And B, whether you bring on Andy Dalton or not, I don't know if this is going to be a team that goes better than 10-6 or 11-5 and goes very deep. So find out what you got instead of.
Yeah, I guess that's the idea, is find out what you have instead of him. But Dalton, I know you souped up Brian Hoyer. By the way,
I disagree with that.
I mean that is something because he does have some good numbers in Cincinnati. Tom, he just did not perform well under the lights. That's the one thing you could say about Dalton. And in New England, they're going to be playing a lot of games under lights, because they're the New England Patriots. They're Belichick. It's post Brady. But it really is what is the evaluation to Stidham? That's really what it is right now.
Maybe I have a higher regard for Hoyer than most people do. And again, he's got a 4-pick playoff game where he submarined his team before it was out of the first quarter once. So that's what people are stuck with too. I don't think Hoyer's that bad. Certainly don't think that Andy Dalton is an offensive option. I don't. So I don't want to make it sound that way. But what are you as the New England Patriots? What are you trying to achieve this year? Because championship driven is nice and everything. But I don't think that they can seriously look in the mirror and say that we're championship driven this year. They have to build in a lot of different spots. So I just think it's prolonging the inevitable if you bring in Andy Dalton to take over that spot, because he's not going to sit there and watch Jarrett Stidham all year. He's coming in to start.
So what will New England's philosophy for 2020 be, Tom?
What's their prognosis?
What's their philosophy? Because
their philosophy has to be to tear the Band-Aid off financially.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking the bite with the $13 million for Brady. There's another $4 million kicking around from Antonio Brown. There's about $20 million in dead cap money, maybe more, that's hitting their cap. So tear the Band-Aid off there. In the draft, they moved back, but what they got was a second-round pick who's probably a year away at a position that's older but good. So Kyle Duggar comes in and he learns how to play from Chung and McCourty. So he's not even a guy who's going to walk in and contribute. The Patriots are sending every signal they can that they're rebuilding, and they acknowledge that. They did it in the second round with, 2 tight ends who are complementary but, project guys. They sent it in free agency. They didn't go out spending. I just think that, that is their philosophy this year. We're going to be smarter. We're going to be tougher. We're going to reinstill a culture. We're going to be a post-Brady team that figures out who it is and what it wants to be. But I just think it's fascinating to watch, and that's why we keep talking about it. But it's not what people think. It's not going to be a continuation of what we just saw for the last decade, nor for the last 2 decades.
Is this and heaven forbid for me to even suppose it, but I would suppose it if it was another team. I would absolutely suppose it if it was another team, but not one that obviously Bill Belichick would be in charge of coaching. But you have to ask the question, is this a tank for Trevor situation that we're watching in progress, Tom, Curran?
No. They're not tanking for Trevor because they're never going to be bad enough to get into the top 10. I mean, at worst, they're going to be 6-10 just because they're too well coached. I really don't think that they're tanking. I think they're trying to figure out who they are. This reminds me completely of the 2000 season when Belichick came in and the team was in financial disarray and you had to fumigate and clean out a lot of the roster. Now, they don't have to reboot the culture and they don't have to cut as many guys, but they are in the worst financial straits they've been in 2 decades. And that's the interesting thing. Look how much better life would have been if Brian Flores just tanked. Instead of a guy with a bad hip that you don't know how good he's going to be, you'd have Joe Burrow. But culturally, that was too far, a bridge too far for them to cross. And I think that would be what the Patriots would feel as well. We're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that to Patrick Chung and Devin McCourty and Dante Hightower and tell them, you know what, we're going to suck this year, so go out and put yourself at risk every Sunday. It's just, you know it too. You're just asking it, but
no, I do know it too, and I had to ask the question because if it was Miami, if it was the Jets, even a team that's near and dear to my heart, name another team, I would have essentially asked that question because how in the world are you going to follow up one of the most successful tenures any team has had in any sport? How are you going to follow that up when you know one of the half of the main characters of that dynasty has left and is set up to win a Super Bowl and is set up to succeed and took one of your main pieces in Gronk?
Mm-hmm.
That how are you going to go into that season and say, you know what, if we go 6-10, we're going to look for the long haul. Understand, obviously, Belichick is playing a long game here because he has no intention of retiring to that great kitchen setup that he has. So that's the reason why I asked the question.
Yeah, it's fair, but again, when we look at quarterbacks in general, what the Patriots have done at the position over the years and still won has been remarkable. A 6th-round pick, a 7th-round pick in Matt Castle, who didn't play in college, still got him 11 wins. Brian Hoyer has been kicking around the NFL for 11 years now. He was undrafted. Jimmy Garoppolo from Division II, they were able to craft him into a guy who's got a $100 million contract. Jacoby Brissett became a starter in Indianapolis. They're going to have great confidence that they can develop a guy without having to tank for the player that people say is going to be so great, who then in 5 years is going to pose incredible financial issues if the team does succeed. I just think that I don't know this for a fact, but when you look at what they did with Brady and their confidence that they could do look, if Andy Dalton was their quarterback since 2010, I swear to you, and Brady wasn't here, and Andy Dalton was their quarterback from 2010 to 2020, if you hit Belichick with the truth serum and said, would you have won a Super Bowl? I bet he'd say, yeah, we would have won a Super Bowl. That's how confident.
Right. Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston here on the Rich Eisen Show, and your latest column at NBCSports.com. If it's up to fans, Bill Parcells is never getting into Patriots Hall of Fame. We were kind of discussing it here, and the New York, New Jersey guy next to my New England guy's like, of course he's getting in the Hall of Fame. And the New England guys go, oh, hold on a minute, you know. So I give you the floor on what this is all about, what's being played out right now in Patriots land.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Patriots started the Hall of Fame in 2007. They said one guy in at a time. Well, they didn't know what was going to happen for the next 13 years was going to create such a line at the front door. They also made it fan vote. We, as a selection committee, put up 3 candidates. And every year we put up the 3 candidates, and then the fans vote on them. And every time Parcells has been one of the 3 candidates up for a vote, he finishes a distant third. So you got a 79-year-old who helped rebuild this franchise and legitimize it and took it to a Super Bowl and made it so much more compelling than it was, who, unless he is somehow ushered into the hall through the back door, is probably not going to get in before he passes away. That's the truth. It's Welker, it's Mankins, it's Vrabel, it's Seymour, it's Wilfork, it's Gronkowski, it's Brady, it's Belichick. You cannot put Parcells on with any of those people and expect him to get in. So, to me, I think they have to backdoor the situation because Patriots fans don't forget what happened in 96, and they don't forget that from 97 to 2000, he actively, tried to undercut the Patriots at every turn.
Well,
so it's fascinating. Walk
through what he did in 96 for people who don't know or remember.
Oh, sure. In 96, Terry Glenn was on the draft board. The Patriots wanted to follow the draft board. Bobby Greer and Robert Kraft and Parcells did not want Terry Glenn. So he was overruled. They took Glenn. And that sealed Parcells and Kraft's relationship in that timetable. And as a result, at the end of that season, when the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl because the Jacksonville Jaguars knocked off the Denver Broncos and the Patriots didn't have to play the Broncos, Patriots end up in the Super Bowl and Parcells was already signed, sealed, delivered to the Jets. And he spent a portion of the week on the phone trying to figure out a way to get himself to New York. Well, he didn't fly home with the Patriots after they lost that Super Bowl, and soon thereafter he got himself to the Jets. And after he got to the Jets, he signed Curtis Martin to a poison pill contract the next year. And he did everything he could to wrangle and rankle the Patriots for the next 3 years. And then when Bill Belichick was set to quit and come to New England, Parcells tried to block him. So, Patriots fans remember well all that stuff. And that's why when you put it in their hands, they go, no, he was a traitor.
Well, yeah. So I guess that, but by that respect, I don't know. Do the Jets fans have a vote on whether Belichick gets into the Jets Hall of Fame? You know, because I mean, look, I mean, when you put it all into it, I mean, Belichick would. Let's put it this way: would Belichick be the current coach of the Patriots if Parcells never walked through the door?
Great question. I don't know. Would they have crossed paths someplace else, or would it be Don Capers?
I don't. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. Again,
I mean, would the Patriots even be in New England if Parcells hadn't walked through the door?
They could be in Hartford, Connecticut. I remember that. I remember that when I was on. They were talking about it. Seriously, Tom. Right?
And that was even after they were successful. That's when Pete Carroll was here. They weren't just talking about it. He sat down and signed a contract to go to Hartford. Kraft did. With the governor, John Rowland. I'll send you the picture. He looks like he's going to be sick to his stomach.
Hey, man, I was on SportsCenter at the time, and we were all sitting there saying, are we going to have an NFL team in our backyard? Are we literally going to be able to sit here in Bristol? I'm serious. We're going to be sitting here on SportsCenter in Bristol, Connecticut, and take a less than 10-minute drive, depending on traffic, and be in an NFL facility. Are we really going to do that? And and I was walking around. And that was just a few weeks after I was so stunned that an NHL team played in the mall in Hartford. You know, I went to see Yager and Lemieux. By the way, I think both of them had a hat trick one night against the poor Hartford Whale, you know, in the mall. And I remember sitting there thinking, are we really going to get the Patriots here in Hartford? And obviously that didn't happen. But, you know, Kraft is who he is and where he is in the pantheon of the NFL for, in his own right. But it did start with Kraft turning to Bill, right, and changing everything around. And Parcells is the one who brought Belichick to New England, and then he brought Belichick with him to the Jets. And then when the Jets and Parcells, fell apart with Leon Hess, the owner of the Jets. I mean, let's do the whole lineage here. Leon Hess, the owner of the Jets, sold the team to Woody Johnson, and I guess Belichick read the writing on the wall, and he's like, I'm going to New England. And he resigned on a cocktail napkin, and that was the end of that. Would any of that happen if Parcells had never walked through the door in New England? Any of it?
Yeah. I mean, one detail on that, too, was Parcells was actually hired by James Bush Orthwein. Kraft bought the team after Parcells was named head coach. So it wasn't Kraft's pick. So that was kind of a Leon Hess, Woody Johnson situation for Parcells a little bit that he didn't escape from. So, but here's the thing. Parcells being who he is and Kraft being who he is, and both of the men being 79 years old, they should have a day here, and they should find a way to get it done because they're closer to the end than the beginning quite suddenly, as we all are. So
I guess that's the ultimate question, and then we could spend a couple minutes on one other subject. But I guess all comes down to what RKK thinks of all this. What does Robert Kraft think?
I think he likes the opportunity to show that hatchets are buried, and we'll see if he comes up with a way to do it. Stacey, who Stacey James, has poured a lot of effort and sweat into that Hall of Fame and crafting it in a certain way. And every year he busts his ass to make sure that we do a good job to put it together. Yep. So it kind of would suck if we figure out a different way to get a guy into the club that is outside the realm.
Sure.
I think Stacey would say, what are we doing? We can't do this, but we'll see what happens.
Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston here on the Rich Eisen Show. What's the Gronk fallout? Any?
Nothing specific. I think that people here in New England, as they often do, once he ended up in Tampa, were quick to say, you know what, screw him anyway. Because he really did author an exit that was Belichickian in some ways, Belichickian, because, he timed it up so that they were right up against the cap and said, hey, I'm coming back. You can either trade me to this one team or I'll come back to your team. So it was he really backed them into a corner, unretiring. So no team was going to trade for him, knowing that he wouldn't report to them. The Patriots couldn't cut him because then he would have gotten what he wanted, and they would have gotten no compensation. And they couldn't have called his bluff and had him rostered because then they would have been over the cap. So it was a fairly shrewd move. We'll see, honestly, how Belichick views that in the future. What will his relationship be like with Gronkowski? Because of all the guys who didn't have a say in where they landed, Vrabel, Seymour, Mankins, on and on and on, Malloy, Gronkowski ends up being the guy who orchestrates a departure on his terms and gets what he wants. It's kind of funny.
So, how much of it's Gronk and how much is it his agent saying, let me handle this? Is Gronk really playing three-dimensional chess?
Somebody might have tapped him on the shoulder and said, hey, if you do this, it'll work. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't.
He's a Rosenhaus guy still, right, Gronk?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. So maybe he did, but Drew's got such a good relationship with Belichick and would never want to damage that. I think that.
Well, I mean, he would have to call Bill up and smooth that over because, I mean, if this is, the way that you have you've put it out there, it sure seems like. Or you could sit here and say that Belichick kind of made the first move to try and send him to Detroit, to Patricia,
100%.
right?
100%. But you could also say, hey, it wasn't me. It was Gordy Gronkowski. The guy's got 5 kids who played in the NFL.
Right.
He knows the landscape. He figured it out on his own. What am I supposed to do?
Hey, he's only doing what he. Hey, look, this is a business, man. When it all comes down to it,
100%.
you know it. You know it. I know it. It's all about a business, and we love talking about loyalty for a reason. We love talking about loyalty because we're so loyal to our teams and our cities and what the team is, and that's the Jerry Seinfeld phrase that we don't root for the players, we root for the laundry. We root for the uniform, but obviously we root for players. Certainly when we fall in love with them, people like Gronk are so lovable. But when it comes down to it, you just mentioned all the history of some of these great people who you say will get the red jacket to get in the Patriots Hall of Fame before Parcells, and for good reason, who they are and what they've done to the team. Many of them wound up somewhere else, and a couple years before their end of their so-called usefulness, and it's, that's just the nature of the business. It's the nature of the beast. We're seeing it right now in Green Bay a little bit, in a way, right?
100%. And they're all self-employed contractors. They're all their own little industries, really. And not only that, but they're fighting for a finite piece of pie in a salary cap. So they're actually pitted against each other, yet they're still able to live within that greenhouse or protected element where they're all with each other and pulling in the same direction. It's fascinating because they're fighting over the same money, and who's going to get more of it. So professional sports in a salary cap era is really it shouldn't work, but it does.
Last one for you, Tom. Again, I know I keep knocking on this door, and you're saying that it's still the answer is it's Jarrett Stidham. Cam, we saw what Jameis Winston, who I have at the top of my third hour today, is signed for in New Orleans. Cam, there's no shot. I mean, why wouldn't New England want to take a chance on somebody that does have 6, 7, 8 years of usefulness, that does sell jerseys, that does put fannies in the seats, and I know that's not Belichick's ultimate concern, but does have an immense amount of ability, a chip on the shoulder. He's just 30. There's no shot of this guy winding up in New England?
I just don't think he takes care of the football well enough. If you look at his interception ratio, if you look at his arm strength, if you honestly look at his accuracy, he's only had 1 year in which he was over 60. I think he was at 67% in that 1 year, and that was 2 years ago. But he just isn't really the quarterback that the Patriots have usually embraced. Now, maybe they change the way they do things, but I was told I said, look, am I safe continuing to say that there's no shot with Cam Newton coming in? And I was told I was safe with that.
Tom, appreciate the time. NBC Sports Boston,
Bye,
Tom
buddy.
Curran. We'll be checking in with you periodically, man. I really appreciate the time.
No trouble. Have a great weekend.
Right
Take
back
care.
at you. That's Tom Curran.
You're good, Tommy.
Calling in from New England. Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. It can be hard work, but here's what makes things easier. Geico can do that for you because you can bundle policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. And it's a good thing, too, because we all have so much going on in our house right now. Geico.com. Get a quote. See how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit Geico.com today. That's Geico.com. I guess we're going to be constantly wondering why is it Jarrett Stidham until Jarrett Stidham shows up under center for the first week of the New England Patriots season.
I think so.
I mean,
what's going to really stink is if we do have preseason games this year, Stidham comes out and is bad.
Well, but Belichick can see through all that. Bad in preseason doesn't mean a darn thing. Remember the Lions went winless? The year that they went winless, I think they were undefeated in preseason. Belichick sees through all that.
But the quarterback position, though, you can evaluate in his snaps with the first team.
Right.
And if they're not good, then I know Tom said these guys are too proud to tank, but I mean, we could be looking at a 2-3 win season.
I don't think they're not too proud to tank. They're too talented to tank. There's enough talented people on that team to win some games with Belichick, dialing it up. Coaching staff's too talented, players too talented. That's not a 2-win team.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Barring injury.
He brought up Brian Flores, too, because,
right.
Too good of a coach to just let his team. And
the minute, look, you know how I feel about the kid. The minute they sat Rosen and put Fitzpatrick in, that means they want to win football games. The anti-tank quarterback of all anti-tank quarterbacks. The minute, if they really wanted a tank, if they really wanted that first overall pick, they would have stuck with a kid in Josh Rosen who's still young and still raw and still learning on the job. Not someone like Fitzpatrick who knows everything like a Harvard man because he's been there, done that, and also won't sit there and think twice about pulling the trigger because I'm a young guy and I'm like, do I second-guess myself right here? No, I'm going to throw it in that window, and then half the time it'll be intercepted. The other half of the time it'll be a touchdown. And so Doug Marrone went on NFL Network today. He went on Good Morning Football today and reiterated Gardner Minshew's our quarterback. He's the guy. Where does that leave Andy Dalton? Where's he going? I'm telling you, man, if Andy Dalton's agent calls up New England and says, we'll give you the same deal that Winston gave in New Orleans, you say no to that? Why can't he take the Hoyer role?
Why can't he be the starter?
These are all excellent questions. No doubt, Marrone said, is his quarterback. We're still looking to make sure we're upgraded at each position. There's some veterans we might look at to bring in, along with the young guys we have.
I'll have Minshew go for it, man. I don't know. I mean, we love Gardner Minshew, but I think we've seen what he can do in the league.
I know we have, but he struggled towards the end.
Yeah. He's going to give you a few wow moments, but for 16 games over the course of a whole season, can you win a Super Bowl with Gardner Minshew?
Fans loved him.
Oh, definitely not disagreeing. We love him.
I know that, but that's also what helps put people there.
True.
Albert Breer has pegged the Jaguars as the team that's tanking for Trevor more than anything else. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. I've been kind of sitting on this for a bit. For those of us who are joining us, maybe for the first time, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH, number to dial. We're going to be on NBCSN at 1 Eastern time for 2 hours. We've got Adrian Wojnarowski, David Feherty, Jameis Winston, and the creators of Billions, David Levien and Brian Koppelman. And we'll take your calls, 844-204-RICH. That's the number to dial. Love talking movies around here. Love talking pop culture. I have finally seen one of the films that you are stunned that's been in my rearview mirror as a blind spot.
The two biggest ones.
Yeah.
Goonies, Jurassic Park is really just
You know I'm
unforgivable.
You know I'm quarantined with 3 people under the age of 11.
So I think Goonies is probably out.
Go Goonies.
No, Jurassic Park, though, for kids.
Kids can see that.
Perfect.
Excuse me. I'm not going to show them the fact that dinosaurs can come alive and, what Velociraptors are going to go
Velociraptor,
eat them, or whatever the hell it is.
That chase scene.
Are you out of your mind?
Yeah, I don't know. Spoiler alert.
Are you out of your mind? I know Cage is just, your only concern right now is when he goes boom, boom, and what color it is, and if it's solid or not. And that you can't control sometimes when he's awake or not.
They do feed a goat to the thing.
I want these kids to sleep.
8 hours last night.
Which, by the way,
oh my gosh,
you shouldn't even say that.
You just jinxed yourself.
You just punched the clown.
It was amazing.
It's a perfect game. You just don't.
It was incredible.
Don't. No. But you don't want kids to see that stuff.
My sister showed the Jurassic Park movies to her boys.
How old?
8 and 5.
My God.
What happened to the goat? Like, that would be the first
It's
thing
not
I'd ask.
Jurassic Park.
All right.
It's Goonies.
Okay. Well,
Goonies.
I'm proud of you.
Oh,
I'm proud of you.
Now
are
then.
you good enough, Rich?
Now then.
He's not going to get that yet.
Now then.
Goonies never say die.
Hold on a second.
He's good enough.
I will say this, though. I saw only 2/3 of it. Because
The first 2/3 or the last 2/3?
the first 2/3 and then the last couple minutes. Because for the 9 and 6-year-old, okay, I
Having
was
them sit still for 2
I was
hours.
texting my boy Ryan Hayden of Team Rich Representatives.
Okay.
He texted me. I showed Goonies to my 2 daughters, who are, I believe, both under the age of 10. They loved it. So I showed it to the kids. And the 2 under the age of 10 were freaking out. I had to tell them every 2 minutes, nothing happens to the kids. They're fine. They're fine. They're going to be fine. Nothing will happen to these children. Okay? Nothing's going to happen to the kids. Okay?
Chunk.
They're going to be fine. They're going to get through this. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Then, Mama from Throw Mama from the Train shows up.
Chunk.
Well, she's
then,
not.
hold on
She's
a
not
second.
nice. Mama Fratelli.
Okay.
Not nice.
All
Not
right.
nice.
And then one of the bad apple or one of the aggressive FBI agents from your favorite Christmas movie.
Yes.
Yes.
Shows up.
Yep.
Robert Davi, the
Yeah,
actor
he's
from
sick.
Die Hard.
Yep.
The famed line of "lose the grid or you lose your job" to turn off all the electricity in Nakatomi Plaza, which we all know
I was in high school.
is exactly what Hans Gruber was expecting, that they were going to run it straight from the FBI playbook.
I give you the F.
Correct. Right. He shows up. Joey Pants
Joey Pants
shows up.
Joey
Joey
Pants
Pants.
shows up.
And they start,
What about the blender
Chunk.
scene? Did you get to the blender scene?
of course.
How are you missing Chunk?
It's not, they were freaking.
Well, did they want a truffle shuffle
Ow.
after? Because that's funny.
I mean,
And he told the
No,
Michael
they
Jackson
wanted
sister
out
story.
the door.
Like,
The 2 of them were watching The Masked Singer on DVR for the 19th time of the week. By the end, Xander stuck with it. Xander stuck
good
with
for
it.
X-Men.
I mean,
And
Yeah.
Susie,
Good for the X-Men.
Susie was the one who's like, because she was on a Zoom call. She was doing she was on a business call while I was taking care of the kids and put them on Goonies. She came in and the first thing she goes, "Oh, great, Goonies." Like she's seen it a million times. Right? Okay.
She gets it.
She gets it.
And then, what's the name of the guy in the basement?
Chunk.
Sloth.
It wasn't
That's
Oh,
what
Chunk's the kid.
Cooper ran for the
Sloth.
hills.
Sloth, that's right.
Chunk.
Chunk, that's right. Chunk is the
Dude,
kid.
when they first saw Sloth for the
Oh,
first time,
that is
That's right.
scary. The
of course
first time.
it is.
But then,
and I'm like thinking to myself, what the hell is Spielberg's malfunction?
But then he just wanted Rocky Road, like in a
that's
Baby
what-
Ruth, like they're
exactly.
friends.
They're friends.
They couldn't stick around. They couldn't stick around for
You know,
that.
that's John Matuzak, the former Raider.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard, it's a Spielberg produced movie, right? Yeah.
Cyndi Lauper's got the great song.
it was-
Good enough.
and Josh Brolin is
Josh
the older
Brolin's
brother.
the older brother.
Richard Donner directed it. Was he not the director of Die Hard? No, it was
No.
John McTiernan, right?
John McTiernan.
So there's okay.
McTiernan's died.
Donner
Donner's
is Lethal
Superman
Weapon.
and Superman. The original Superman.
Oh man! So I'm
Richard Donner's still with us.
I have.
Yeah.
That's the thing is that so Susie and I are constantly Googling like movies for kids because we're sick of the earbuds. We're not going to do this anymore. We're not going to. We're not going to go down the same. With all due respect to my friends at the Worldwide Leader, we're not going to go down the same Disney Plus wormhole here. Okay, like we're trying to expand.
Back to the Future?
One of them's already seen it. The one that I've settled on, that I'm kind of, because we did Mrs. Doubtfire and they loved it.
Oh, that's an awesome movie.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
That's
great,
an awesome-
great.
Well, because no children were even threatened to be harmed in the making of the film, like
But
Goonies.
is Mrs. Doubtfire R-rated?
No,
No.
there's some language in it,
But nothing.
but it was also helpful to them
It's PG-13.
that the voice of the genie from Aladdin
Okay.
was Mrs. Doubtfire. Like it's helpful to have those sort of pieces of connective tissue.
Did you explain that James Bond's in the movie?
No, because really that's Sean Connery.
Exactly.
Sean Connery was not in the film.
Pierce Brosnan was.
I understand,
Yeah,
and I
but
do
he's-
love Pierce Brosnan.
Just saying.
Oh, and by the way, when he shows up, hearing my wife go,
Oh,
ooh,
yeah.
like that sort of
That was-
stuff. That's great.
I mean, that's 93
That was
Brosnan.
I know
Yeah,
that.
you can't even.
I got no shot.
Yeah, you got that.
So here's what I'm settled on for this weekend.
Uh-oh,
okay.
let's hear it.
Groundhog Day.
Now we're talking.
Don't you think they'd like that?
Yeah.
There's nothing
Yes, although
really.
Groundhog Day does get a little dark when he kills himself a bunch of times.
Well, but that's you know he's not going to die.
No, I know he doesn't die, but he does
I'm
jump
just
off
thinking,
a building and walk in front of a car.
I'm thinking some of the stuff will be funny for them.
Okay.
Certainly the driving angry stuff, which is when he's trying to kill himself, is
Right.
funny.
Needham,
Right.
the
Yeah.
that
The
stuff.
guy, what's his name? The
Ryerson, Ned
So-
Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson.
Ned Ryerson is funny.
That's funny.
At least they'll come away knowing I've got you, babe, by
Yeah, I
Sonny
was
and
in Sonny and Cher. They're
Cher.
gonna be Sonny and Cher fans.
I think they dig Groundhog Day. I don't know if anybody out there in the 454s has any suggestion if they're popping it in our YouTube wormhole chat room, or you want to call 844-204-RICH for the next couple minutes here. That's what Babe, Don Bowie saying, show him Babe.
Babe is great.
Yeah. Can do
Babe
that.
is great.
Are they down with, have they watched all the Toy Stories yet?
Yeah, but some of that stuff too is really.
Oh, I saw Cars 2.
The
one
last
you
Toy
talked
Story,
about?
the last Toy Story, Cars 2, by the way.
can't-
Cars 2 is so ridiculous where it's like, okay, Mater has like friggin' machine guns coming out
Yeah,
of
you
him.
can't. Kids, that's not made
And
for
we're
kids.
Susie and I are looking at each other like the first scene of Cars 2, there's like a car goes underwater because they've been shot dead.
Yeah, it's not.
And it's just like we're thinking of people are like, what happened to Radiator Springs?
Exactly.
What's going on here?
This was not. That was
I
not.
know.
That was nuts. Yeah. Now I see that when you.
They've
were complaining
enjoyed
about it.
the entire Despicable Me series. Minions is
Okay.
great. I mean, like
Yeah.
we don't want to go. We want to show them stuff from like our era.
I would tell you, save Jaws for a little later.
Thank you. Thanks for that heads up,
My
Uncle
favorite
Mike.
movie.
What about Hoosiers with Coop and X-Man?
Oh, I showed them Hoosiers already. That was but it's a little slow for them.
Yeah.
It's slow, and they're wondering what the Dennis Hopper character. Why is he sick?
Right.
We're explaining to him like he's addicted to alcohol. It was a little confusing to them. The basketball scenes were great.
Yeah.
Oh, the new Muppet movie. We've already been there.
Field
We've
of
showed them the
Dreams?
old Muppet movie. We've done that.
Field of Dreams?
Field of Dreams, I think, is a little too
Slow.
Here's another 80s
Yeah, people
one.
voices out of the corn again. I don't need the 1:30 in the morning. I heard something outside the window, Dad, and it's they're telling me to come because they're building it. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that.
Fair. What
don't
about
need that.
What about Adventures in Babysitting?
Oh, okay, and
Happy ending. Kids saved the day. Elizabeth Shue,
Dad
who
gets
we-
to watch Elizabeth Shue for a couple
Yeah.
hours. By the way, when she came in here a couple years
Man,
ago,
delightful. It's the
when she
only-
came in here a
it's the
couple
only-
years ago. Please, everybody, check it out on our YouTube page. It's still, by the way, one of our most viewed
Should I?
videos.
You know what?
Yeah.
I'll post the full interview right now.
And she, that's right. The video that went viral was when she said that she played soccer better than Ralph Macchio and she could kick his ass. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
When we brought up the soccer stuff from Karate Kid.
Trying to think what else.
Adventures in Babysitting's not a bad one.
I got to shout out Sarah's mom. She just texted me to suggest that.
Okay. I love that she's out
I'm
there.
trying to think of 80s. Did you look it up, Brockman?
See what I'm looking for that. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to go down the same kid movie
Back to the
wormhole. When they're trying to,
Futures,
they have already seen that.
Yeah, that's kind of
They've
like.
already seen that, and I don't want to do the cartoon stuff from, we've already gone 101 Dalmatians. We've done that. I've showed them Mary Poppins.
What about the Karate Kid?
We have not.
That's a little. No, there's a little.
We haven't done the Wizard of Oz yet.
That's.
The
That's
flying monkeys.
scary.
I know the
Scared
Wizard-
the hell out of
I
me.
know that,
Kid.
but I survived it.
I hated the monkey. As soon as I saw the flying monkey, I was done. I think I was in tears.
Don
when I had
Bowie
the
said Sound of Music. There's also, I don't know if I want to talk to him about Nazis. I'm serious.
Didn't see that coming.
I know. I don't know if I want to talk
E.T.'s a little
Nazis.
sad.
E.T., what my oldest saw already.
Yeah,
But we
at the
survived
end.
it. You know what I'm
I
saying? Like,
know.
we survived it. I survived watching Bambi's, I don't want to say, okay, spoiler alert. Can you spoil Bambi?
Come on.
No.
Old
Old
Yeller?
Yeller,
Like, wait, there's no
every
spoiler.
Disney movie, a parent dies. Okay? Every Disney movie, a parent dies. And then I've said this before, and I'll say it here again. Beauty and the Beast. I saw that, and I'm like, am I teaching my sons, anytime you find someone you are attracted to, or you want to tell them that you love them,
hide them in your house,
throw them in the basement with a bunch of books?
Exactly.
Is that the message we're sending? Because I hadn't seen Beauty and the Beast in years.
It was a TV show too, right?
Don Boo is saying, but most heartbreaking Disney movie is a good poll question. Or just come up with 4 movies.
It's a good one from Adam in the back. The Sandlot.
Sandlot's not a bad one.
Sandlot's great.
That's not a bad one.
That's a good one.
I got 90 seconds left. All right, well, you know what? I'll bring this to the NBCSN show.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, we could do that on the back end of Billions.
By the way, don't show them Gremlins. I just saw that again.
Dude, I'm not going to show them Gremlins.
Gremlins
Are you
is
out of your
nuts.
mind?
What about Big?
They've already seen that.
Okay.
We've done Big.
All right.
Although that's kind of sad at the end.
Yeah.
Well, he goes back to
true.
being a boy.
Goes back to being a kid.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah, I mean Elizabeth Perkins.
Yeah.
And Tom, yeah.
They,
Splash.
Hey, kids, pull up a chair and let me tell you about a Woj bomb. That's what we got coming up at 1:20 Eastern Time. The NBCSN crowd's about to join us here on Sirius XM Channel 211 and also YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show. I have seen Goonies, although not all of it. So
welcome to the
I'm
club,
almost
Rich.
there.
I mean, he didn't even finish it.
Jameis Winston will join us top of hour number 3. And look at that, those 2 gentlemen who have created Billions, which returns to Showtime this weekend. That's how we're rolling on the Rich Eisen Show in our final 2 Friday hours. Call us at 844-204-RICH. Hello, Dane Cook.
Rich, how are you?
How are you? Boston Red Sox t-shirt.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
I had to rep.
True or false that you have intercepted Tom Brady at one point?
I did a charity event for Best Buddies back in Boston.
That's his charity,
yeah.
right? That he has his game.
Yeah, he plays quarterback for both teams. Very last play of the game, my team's down.
Yes.
I see Tom, he's going to throw this cute kid who's, been excited to get a ball thrown to him all day. So I see Tom's elbow line up. I go, this kid's not getting this ball. So I ran over and I jumped in front of this kid, pulled it down, ran it in for the game-winning touchdown. And he signed the ball. I got it in my living room.
Are you proud of yourself?
I picked 6
Dane?
off Tom.
I know, that's
Brady.
fine. I understand that, but
I made a kid cry for that ball.
You stepped in front and you high-stepped Tom Brady.
Are you kidding me? That's the only way I was ever going to intercept Tom Brady.
So here's another one. Is it true that you were in the room when Tom Brady met Giselle?
That is true. That was true.
Where was this, Dane Cook?
07 AFC playoff game,
Yes.
and Giselle was sitting with us in the box. So the Kraft family was like, oh, Giselle's here she's never seen Tom play. And she didn't really know football. She literally, during the game, was like, so why do they have to run with the ball this way? Had that very thick Brazilian accent.
Yes.
And then we all were ushered down to the locker room. And when I saw them see each other, and she kind of grabbed him by the arms, and they're almost the same height, but she's looking at him because, he's bigger than life. It was like they were so beautiful. You know those moments in like a Disney movie where the camera just spins around the prince and princess? I felt like I was just spinning around.
And the birds start flying like zippity-doo-dah?
It was unbelievable. You were like, oh, that's a power cut. I think I called my girlfriend right there and was like, we're done. We have nothing even close to what I'm experiencing here. I felt like voyeuristic, just standing there watching them love each other live.
This is The Rich Eisen Show.
Boom!
Live from The Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
General manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is my buddy Mike Mayock.
Derek Carr is our quarterback, and we expect them to get better.
Earlier on the show, from NBC Sports Boston, Tom Curran. Still to come, ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. Golf Channel analyst David Feherty. New Orleans Saints quarterback Jameis Winston. Plus, co-creators of the Showtime drama Billions, Brian Koppelman and David Levien. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Well, hey everybody, Rich Eisen here in the Los Angeles studios of The Rich Eisen Show, otherwise known as a radio show, TV show, and also streaming show. Streaming show.
Yeah, don't leave that out.
Don't leave that out.
We're a triple threat.
Chris Brockman,
we're a triple threat,
radio
buddy.
show, TV show, streaming show. Good to see you over there, Christopher.
Hey, buddy, what's happening?
How are you, Mikey D?
I am doing very well,
Good
Rich.
to see my audio executive. Yeah, we're a triple threat. And on our streaming hour, which we're on at noon Eastern every single day, between noon and 3, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. We talked to our friend Tom Curran from NBC Sports Boston because we are interested, just like most of America, in what's going through Bill Belichick's mind for his quarterback room. Because what many of us cannot compute is that in the post-Brady world, knowing that Tom Brady is set up to potentially become the first quarterback in the history of this National Football League, and he's been the first in many different regards, but the first to ever be the quarterback of a Super Bowl team playing in their home stadium on Super Sunday, which is slated for Tampa, Florida, sometime in February. We're hoping it's on the same date that it's been planned for. Knock on wood if you're with me. So that we just can't fathom that the quarterback room is going to be Brian Hoyer and Jarrett Stidham when Brady's set up to potentially be in the Super Bowl. And now you've got Cam and Andy Dalton on the free agent market. Jameis Winston, who had been there since Brady displaced him in Tampa, is now signed with New Orleans. He is our first guest, top of hour number 3 on this program, the final of 2 hours on NBCSN, our final hour of the program. And Jameis will be first up there, and you could see David Feherty of Golf Channel and NBC Sports will be on the back end of this hour. We're leading up to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN to talk about his latest article on ESPN.com about the future of the NBA for this season. We'll get to that in a second. And as you can see on my desk right here, I've got my Axe Capital mug all set up with the Royale, first cup of coffee of the day inside of it, because Brian Koppelman and David Levien, the co-creators of Billions, which returns to Showtime this very weekend, will be on the very end of this show. So I've got my Axe Capital mug all set up here. Also to prove that everything's a business, right? So how does New England not go for somebody like Andy Dalton, who's on the market now? We had Charlie Weiss on this show, who knows this offense very well. He was the offensive coordinator for Tom Brady's first several championship years. He said Andy Dalton would be the perfect free agent quarterback for New England to plug and play and win right now, more than anybody else that we're thinking was coming on the market. He said this when the new league year began, and we had him on this show, trying to read the tea leaves on Brady. Dalton's now available. And one would think you could get him for the same contract that New Orleans got Jameis Winston. Potentially. I mean, you play your cards right, and Belichick knows how to play cards. So we asked Tom Curran, basically, last hour. Tom, you're the one who said Jarrett Stidham's going to be the guy. What about now? What about Dalton?
I really don't know if they are anxious to do so. I mean, I was told early on in the process that, and when Brady was still a Patriot, that the Patriots were not going to be going that holdover veteran-type route, mid-tier guy. So that's what I've stuck with. I haven't been disabused of that. So I think we saw last week with what they did in the draft that they feel okay about Stidham. To me, Andy Dalton is just a souped-up Brian Hoyer. It's the same kind of guy. They don't have the cap room to bring on Andy Dalton, A. And B, whether you bring on Andy Dalton or not, I don't know if this is going to be a team that goes better than 10-6 or 11-5 and goes very deep. So find out what you got instead of.
I think that's what's going to end up happening. By the way, in case anyone's wondering, if you didn't see our first hour on youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show, Chris Brockman and I did push back a wee bit on calling Andy Dalton a souped up Brian Hoyer.
Yeah, I disagree with that. With all due respect to Brian Hoyer, who's been in this league for a long time. He's played some games. He's started. He's not Andy Dalton. He's not taking teams to the playoffs. He's not throwing for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns, 65 completion percentage. He doesn't have great hair like Andy Dalton. He is a member of the Brotherhood, which we love and respect, but he's not first team all hair like Andy Dalton.
But here's the issue with Dalton for you and many other New Englanders, and potentially maybe when it all comes down to it, Belichick, was Dalton's performances in primetime games have always been dreadful. And I guess always might be too strong a word because I don't know every single one of them off the top of my head. Let's just put it this way. More often than not, if not every time, dreadful, including one Thursday night I was in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
When Brian Hoyer's Browns beat Andy Dalton's Bengals for the high watermark of the Mike Pettin era. I was there that Thursday night, freezing my you-know-what off on the atrium of Paul Brown Stadium. Man, I'll tell you that, man. We went inside. Bengals were supposed to roll over the Browns. And I remember that night, if I'm not mistaken, that left the Browns at 7-3. And we were talking about how the Browns could control their own destiny over the final 6 weeks of that season.
What year was that?
Look it up. I was there.
First couple years of it.
I remember I was freezing my ass off out there, and it was just me and I think Irv. I think Kurt and Mooch were off that night, and it was just me and Irv and two other people who ordinarily weren't doing.
2014. That put the Browns to 6-3.
6-3.
Smoked the Bengals 24-3 that night.
Dalton was terrible.
Andy Dalton
he was terrible that night.
10 for 33, 86 yards, 3 picks.
Dude.
A passer rating of 2.0. Ouch, babe.
And New England's going to be playing a ton of those games, man, under the lights. And it's unfair to maybe just bring that up, but, especially since for our, listeners on Sirius XM, we were showing Dalton's tremendous stats being the all-time passing touchdowns leader, fourth quarter comebacks leader in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals. Several playoff appearances for a franchise that still has not won a playoff game since Boomer Esiason won one for him. So, that's the issue here, is would New England really twitch in that direction? I think if you want to upgrade a position, you're upgrading over Brian Hoyer with Andy Dalton, if you can sign him. And then everyone's saying, you know what, put Andy Dalton in Jacksonville. And Doug Marrone went on NFL Network today, on Good Morning Football today, to say that Minshew's the quarterback there. That they're still going to, they're looking to upgrade all positions. Some veterans out there that we might look at to bring in along with the young guys we have. Again, that was on Good Morning Football on NFL Network, where that took place. I'm sorry, I'm just being courteous. So you're wondering, where's Dalton going? I did ask Curran about Cam. He said that's not going to happen either, best he can tell. So where do these guys go?
I mean, we're rolling with Stidham, it seems like.
Where do these guys go? And we're going to be sitting here, I think, Chris, wondering who's going to start other than Jarrett Stidham until Jarrett Stidham strolls out on that field. And Belichick knows, the staff knows, the players know how he's looked. How he's looked in practices and how he's looked, how he handles himself. He could be ready. Why can't he be ready? Why can't he be ready and be the modern version of Matt Castle, which is, by the way, not at all a slight. I'm talking about a guy who And he had a lot more experience than Matt Castle. Matt Castle never started a game in college, and he won 11 games. So why can't he go out there and win 10 games, 11 games, and see how it goes? And here's your guy. And all of a sudden, all the other draft moves that Belichick has made is going to get this team ready when Stidham is actually ready to go. I do love all this intrigue. Jameis Winston's going to be joining us top of the third hour. Why did he sign with New Orleans? What are his plans after this year? Why did he call New Orleans the Harvard of quarterbacking? For two reasons. One, I mean, Bruce Arians knows how to coach people up. And two, we all know it's the Michigan of the East. So we'll talk about that with Jameis. Again,
I'm not sure.
Jameis, as you know, had a chance to play for the Michigan of the West. Stanford.
Yeah, I don't know how many people say that.
What's our poll question over there, Chris? Do we have one already cooked up over there?
Yeah, the first weekend in May is normally a massive sports weekend.
Yes.
So many things traditionally on the calendar this weekend. So what event that's normally held this weekend are you missing the most? Kentucky Derby.
All right, it's post time for this poll question.
The NBA playoffs, the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yes.
And traditionally there is a massive boxing fight this weekend. So those are your four options at Rich Eisen Show on Twitter right now to vote.
Well, I'm sure there's two people, there's two answers that would split the NBC sports vote since, Stanley Cup playoffs.
Right.
And the Kentucky Derby on our friends at NBC Sports. And in case anyone at NBC Sports is lamenting that this show can't be involved with the Kentucky Derby this weekend, do you have the famous drop of Chris Brockman pronouncing the name of American Pharaoh? Do you have that?
American Pharaoh.
Okay, so we're just sparing you Chris Brockman's vast knowledge of horse racing.
American Pharaoh.
It does the O and the A were transposed.
Yeah.
All right, background on that. Okay. just quick little 30-second background. It's 2015.
Yes.
We're in Chicago
for the draft.
NFL draft that
Yes.
year, and it's the Friday before the Derby.
Yes.
And traditionally, I read off the post because that's what we do. We're talking.
Yes.
It's a news story.
Correct.
I'd never heard of this horse. I'd never read any of the names before, and the O and A are transposed.
Yes.
And so I read it as it's spelled out.
American Pharaoh.
And need I remind you what went on to happen?
Yeah.
American Pharaoh won the Triple Crown.
Yes.
I don't think I get proper respect for kicking this horse off on its great run.
Yes.
Saturday at the so I think they should be thanking me because without me and without that mispronunciation,
Yes.
it would
American
not have
Pharaoh.
I think
its place in history.
You and another famous New Englander at the time, Wes Welker, were tremendous that week.
I was
mistaken.
not on anything.
Okay, my God. You were just on you were not even hooked on phonics.
I was
when it
high
came
on
to that.
life that
All right.
weekend.
At any
Thank
rate.
you.
By the way, and it does, however, some good news on the live sports front. NASCAR announcing yesterday that they're going to the Carolinas. They've got Carolina on their mind.
All right.
Darlington, South Carolina, in a couple of weekends. 2 Cup Series races wrapped around an Xfinity Series race. And then they're planning to go to Charlotte weekend after. Now, there's a ton of social distancing rules that they're putting in place. Cloth masks for everybody at the facilities. No fans. Going to try and keep people as safe as possible. But it sure looks like a lot of us are going to be able to snap the television sets on and watch people make some left turns. And that's happening. The question now about the NBA, and that's why we're having Woj on. He's going to join us in about 6 minutes' time. Adrian Wojnarowski, a great article on ESPN.com that's a must-read inside the NBA's thought process that appears to be kicking into a higher gear now that we are in May. That May 1st was set as a date by the commissioner that prior to which they were, I guess, waiting for this date to arrive to take a look at the lay of the land, the fail-safe of trying to get this season in and then starting the next season as remotely close to either on time or delayed in a manner that a lot of owners in the association are interested in having the rest of the NBA's existence run by starting it in December. That Christmas Day would be the tip-off of a season that runs through the summer and takes you up essentially to the NFL season. That might be feasible to pull all of this off. How do you pull off the rest of this season? What does that look like? When can you do it? Today was the day by which, again, May 1st, the NBA was going to allow some teams in states that have relaxed stay-at-home orders or relaxing on May 1st and a few more days from now, putting aside whether that stuff is smart, should be done, how it's going to work with this virus, setting everybody on edge and also setting its own timetable. Today was the date by which the NBA was going to allow some teams to do all that, but according to Woj, there was a little bit, if not a lot, of pushback on this from some teams that were concerned about competitive balance, health, and safety issues, that they've pushed that date back to a week from today. So lots to talk about with Woj about the return of the NBA, and this is the guy. I mean, you want to talk about information, men and women in a sport that has tons of them. He is at the very top of the list. So, David Feherty to talk about maybe the return of golf. Jameis Winston about the return of Jameis and his 2020 eyesight, and the return of billions. We will return on the Rich Eisen Show right after this. Now, we can't converse right now with Adam, our call screener.
He could call in.
No, it's okay. But I guess he could call in from the call.
He could call in and answer the phone.
Very well done.
Actually, he could work.
And as our YouTube fans know, sitting in the wormhole 454, where there's been a profane Brockman imposter.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, there was a fake, fake me popped into the YouTube chat. I mean, you must be really bored if you're going to my Twitter account, taking my profile picture there, creating a YouTube profile with it, and using my name to troll other people in the chat box.
I'm sorry, Brockman.
You have to be bored.
That's not right at all.
I'm sorry.
But we were discussing on our YouTube stream towards the end of our first hour about films that I can show my kids from, last 15, 20, maybe 30 years ago to try and catch them up to speed. My kids are 11, 9, and 6. And Adam, some people just call up and hang up. Call up and hang up. Say something to Adam and he writes it down. Bugsy Malone was suggested.
Bugsy? Yeah.
What? Like, not Bugsy, the movie.
Have you seen Bugsy Malone, the movie from the 70s? Scott Baio, Jodie Foster?
Oh, I'm thinking Bugsy about,
No, gangster.
This is like a gangster movie. This is a fake.
No, this is a gangster musical comedy.
With kids.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You've never seen that?
No.
Fantastic movie.
Yeah, Jodie Foster, Scott Baio.
This is like I'm going to say 76.
Susie showed Grease to Xander, and he loved it.
Oh, Grease.
Oh, yeah, Grease is amazing. I used to watch that.
Well, there are some mature themes in it.
Grease is a word.
But he went to some. This was before the shutdown. A birthday party that was kind of like a dress up as a 50s birthday party.
So they showed Grease?
Roller skate. So no. Oh. Susie got him ready for it by
showing him Grease.
Right. And he was again wondering why the guy who pronounced Idina Menzel as Adele Dazeem was looking so young in this film.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
Ladies and gentlemen.
I mean, you can't get enough of that.
Ladies and gentlemen. All right, Woj is calling in. It's been a while since we've had Woj, which I'm pretty excited about. And did you see Steve Kerr? And maybe we'll talk about this with him too. Kerr, I think, was speaking to a college class or to something up in. He was zooming in, and he said that the Warriors are taking the approach that they're in the offseason now. Yeah. That if the NBA returns, they're not going to allow the 15 seeds to get a shot at an 8 seed. Like it's just going to. They'll probably just seed everybody 1 through 8.
That's what I think they should do. They should just go right to the playoffs.
Okay. So, all right, we're going to be back in a second right here on The Rich Eisen Show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Calling in shortly, Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN will be joining us right here on the show. Our poll question at Rich Eisen Show. Chris Brockman, refresh everyone if you don't mind, sir.
Okay, big weekend normally in sports this weekend, the first one in May. So what event that's normally held are you missing the most? Kentucky Derby, NBA playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs, and the mega boxing match that usually takes place.
Okay, that's what's going on right now at Rich Eisen Show. And joining us right now from the worldwide leader in sports, I'm kind of dating myself. I always said this to Schefter, too. He's like the E.F. Hutton of sports information. When people, when they talk, people listen. He's Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. How are you, Woj?
I'm well, Rich. Hope you are, too.
Yeah, we are. We're knocking on wood. We're all happy and healthy and safe. And I guess I'll start with the macro question here. I read your latest piece on ESPN.com. It's remarkable. Your reporting, as always, is spot on with detail. What are the conversations right now in the NBA front offices Adam Silver having right now here on May the 1st, 2020 about this upcoming season? Best you can tell.
Well, thanks, Rich. The conversations are so wide-ranging. There's so many layers to trying to play again this season, but also playing again this season in context with what next season looks like and the following season. Because if you push back the start of next season, you're essentially probably pushing back the start of the following season. And so what kind of calendar do you want to get on? Is that a one-year thing? If they don't play this year, might they still move next year's start back anyway to buy more time, to be able to get fans in arenas, to buy more time in a lot of areas? And if they play this season, how do they play? Where do they play? Do they just go right to the playoffs? Do they have some regular season left? Do they do a play-in tournament? There's so many scenarios of contingencies, and many of them, Rich, I think really are built around how many days they have to work with. And initially, they had hoped in a resumed season, they had hoped to have it wrapped up by essentially Labor Day weekend, start of football season, that first weekend in September. Mm-hmm. And as time has gone on, they're more open, or they're open to pushing it further if they need to. If that means they can get the playoffs finished, and they want to be able to crown a champion. That's important to them. And but they've also got to have a champion that comes out of a representative process, playoffs. It's got to have legitimacy to it, and so that's the fine line, because you're going to have to compromise in lots of ways. No fans, maybe shorter playoff series, maybe you don't have a best of seven, maybe you do. There's so many different, and I think what they're trying to do is, I had a quote in the story from another executive in the league who was talking about Adam's challenge and just how difficult it is to lead in a crisis by consensus. And I think there's consensus that everybody wants to play, and that's important for the league to play, even though for some individual teams who are not going to be in the playoffs. I mean, Steve Kerr said the other day,
yep,
we're operating as if we're done, and there really isn't any motivation for them to want to play a few more games or do a mini camp and then start play a few regular season games and be done. But it's important for the league that they resume, and certainly financially, there's benefits to playing for some teams. There's benefits to getting the players' money back with canceled games. And so lots of agendas, and a commissioner right now, Rich, who's got to help everybody to put them all aside and look at what is right for the league as a whole, because like every professional league, every business, every industry, this isn't a one-year challenge. This is a multi-year challenge for all of these, and specifically speaking, professional leagues and the NBA.
Yeah, because delaying the start of the next season to December is what maybe some owners in the league would like to do or have been pushing to do for a long time. So it might actually dovetail into a consensus, Woj. And the fact that, again, that's what all commissioners do, is they try to they try to lead via consensus. And in that respect, though, even just the issue of this date of May 1st and what it would mean in terms of opening up facilities, and according to your reporting, that was difficult to even gain a consensus on that, to the point where there was a little bit of a can kick, correct, on that front?
Right. They moved the date from May 1st to May 8th, and they had told some teams over last weekend, we'll do it the 1st. And among those teams who could have opened on the 1st based on their state loosening stay-at-home regulations, the Atlanta Hawks, Atlanta decided we're not ready to do that. We don't feel comfortable doing it. We want to see what happens within our state with the loosening of the restrictions. We want to see what does it do to cases in this state. Does it create a spike? Do cases of the virus go up? We want to see what it looks like in our region, our community, before we open back up. So we're going to wait a couple of weeks. Now, Atlanta's a team that's not going to be in the playoffs, and there's a different urgency for the Atlanta Hawks than, say, the Lakers, who want to win a championship, the Clippers, Philly, Milwaukee. These are all certainly teams that have a lot at stake, would like to see the season resumed, who want to make a run in the playoffs. But I will say this, Rich, in talking with teams and executives and owners, safety has been foremost. Like, of course, there's the competitive juices and people want to win. But I think that no one wants to put people in it. There's always going to be risk, and there'll be risk whenever they return. But you remember, it's not just the players. You've got coaches in their late 60s, early 70s around players. You have staff that's older and people who might be more vulnerable in the environment. And they've got to account for all of that.
And again, that's part of your article on ESPN.com. I've got Adrian Wojnarowski, the senior NBA insider for ESPN, also the host of the Woj Pod. That's got Schefter and Jeff Passan mentioned it yesterday when he was on the show, Woj, right here on the Rich Eisen show. The testing, the actual testing that would be required to get this done, and the sensitivity of what we've already heard. I mean, when Rudy Gobert was announced as COVID positive, and we found out that the entire Utah Jazz had gotten tested within 24 hours, and this was way before even the current testing scenario in our country, which is still, by many accounts, and fact-based and science accounts, woefully short in terms of the amount of Americans there are. So, and that's a sensitivity that's being played out right now with the commissioner, correct?
It is, and I reported in the story that the NBA expects that in a shortened season, in what would likely be a isolated bubble, whatever you call it, within a world where you'd have to be testing more than just players and staff, there might be hotel workers, there might be facility people, any number of people who have to be around to play, that they would need in the neighborhood of 15,000 tests to do that. And what Adam Silver has said from the beginning, he doesn't want to be in a situation where the league is trying to resume, or the league resumes, and there is still a great gap between the need in the general public and medical professions, where there's a big gap between the testing they need and the testing they have, and that here comes a professional sports league that's gobbling up all those tests. Now, there are manufacturers. I think the NBA knows they could get the tests. They could get the number they need, but they can have that guaranteed. But what they can't guarantee is that the public will have that. And I think it's an ethical question. It's a public relations question. It's all of those. How's that going to look? And so that, as much as anything, is driving the pushing of this calendar as far as they can until the testing availability to people and rapid testing, rapid response testing, rapid result testing is available. And so that's a big part of this conversation right now. So
where are the players in this conversation? What would you say if we polled the players? How many would say absolutely, I am up for quarantining, I am up for getting tested, I am up for doing whatever's necessary to get this season going in front of no fans and crowning a champion? what would you say that would be?
In my experience, my conversations, I'm not talking to 450 or 400 plus of them.
Right.
But the general sense I've gotten from talking to players is most want to play. I don't find the number any different than any other part of this. I'm trying to talk to people at all levels. I think there's different levels of optimism among the players about whether it'll happen or not. But that's not want to do it. That's I hope we can pull it together. I think there's no question that the teams who are vying to go deep in the playoffs and who think they have a chance to win, they're more motivated, I think. But that's natural. But the others, there's a financial cost. The league will essentially take back, for every game that's missed, you're going to lose about 1% of your salary. So if all the regular season games got canceled, they didn't play anymore, and different teams have a different amount left, it's anywhere from 23 to 26% of a player's salary they're going to lose. And so that's a motivation. Now, I don't think under any scenario, let's say some teams have 16, 17 games left, there's no we can just we can do the math. We can look at the dates and go, they're not going to be able to play that many. But if they can play 5, 6, 7 or less, it is some income back that they would be losing. So there's lots of different reasons for players to be motivated to do it, and that's part of the conversation now for the league. Do we finish any of the regular season, or do we just go right to the playoffs? And that's, in the end, I think it's going to come down to calendar and how many days they think they have to finish the season.
Well, I mean, you could ask Steve Kerr if he thinks he's going to play a regular season game the rest of this year. Again, he told the University of San Francisco when he was on a Zoom call or some sort of on Tuesday, he was on some sort of call with a group there saying that they're operating as if the season's over, that they're in the off season right now. That's what he said about, as you pointed out
and
earlier.
I think that's a little bit their mindset, but I think also he understands they may be called back to play, and I think I understand from the teams who are deep in the lottery, and especially now there's some younger teams, Rich. Now they have a balance. They have some younger, older guys. I don't think there's a great motivation to put Steph Curry back in 5 or 6 regular season games off of a shortened training camp. But for teams like, let's say, Cleveland, Atlanta, who have younger rosters, Charlotte with some of the younger guys who are out of the playoffs, they're going to treat it like a little bit of a summer league, a mini camp. Hey, we just want to get our guys back in the gym. We can run practices for 2.5, 3 weeks. We don't really care so much about the games, but we've got young players who we want to get better, and we want to bring those guys back in. And I think that's important too.
I mean, the number of different agendas or concepts or reasons for playing or reasons for not playing that you've just mentioned, Woj, over the last several minutes. I mean, my head is spinning, so there's so much obviously placed in front of the commissioner right now. Let's just try and put a button on it because I do want to ask you a last dance question before I let you go. What do you think what's the time frame, best you can tell, and what do you think is the best plan from what you're hearing, or the most viable plan from what you're hearing that's in front of Adam Silver right now that he may pick up off his desk and say, let's try this one?
Well, I still think they're sifting through the plans. I mean, the single site is a plan. They've had teams, give us, let's look at your practice facilities in a place where they could do some innovative television angles in a facility with no fans, but you could do some things with camera, try to make it, those are the options for them. I think a single place that houses everybody, it certainly makes sense. And there's places, Vegas, Walt Disney, and Florida are 2 places they've talked about. And so that'll be a big part of it.
Okay. Then the last one for you here, Woj, on The Last Dance. You had Jerry Krause on your pod before he passed away. What do you make of how Krause is coming across in this documentary so far, and what we can pretty much sense what might be coming? I know Jason Hare was on this show on Monday and said that there will be some table pounders on behalf of Krause that sees some light of day in this doc. I'm wondering what you think.
I haven't watched it yet, Rich.
You haven't?
I haven't watched it. So I will, I'm sure, at some point. But I have heard I've seen the reporting and some of the fallout of it. And I did have Jerry Krause on the podcast. I went to his house about 6 weeks maybe before he passed away. And the podcast. I think it's early June 2000. Was it? If it was 17.
17 is when he passed away. Yes.
It was, but I haven't watched it yet, so I don't have the context of how. So I'm afraid to jump into.
Sure.
How he's been.
Well, I mean,
I can tell it's been not well.
Yeah,
I can tell that from.
Yeah, I mean, look, the thing that is coming across to me is Krause was only doing what Reinsdorf kind of hired him to do, Woj, right? I mean, so it's coming across like he insisted Phil's got to go or he couldn't get along, and that's basically how it's going right now.
Yeah, I think it's like anything else, Rich. I think two things could be true. He did an incredible job putting this team together, the parts, the pieces, how they fit from coaching staff to putting Tex Winter with Phil Jackson in a system, and then obviously all the moves around Michael Jordan that were made. And then when Jordan retired and came back, he built a second team around him. And on the back end, he was too anxious for it to end, and he was too desirous of credit and wanting, and like both can be true because these things are always complex and it's never good versus bad. But I think, listen, they all needed each other. Like none of this would have happened without all of them. And but I understand, I think in Krause, it was always hard for him. He was always going to be treated like an outsider on that group, and I think. For the organization and like Phil Jackson, the players, they liked finding an enemy, a villain. And in real time then, we know that's what they did with Jerry Krause. They made him – that was their rallying cry was against Jerry Krause. And so I think Jackson and Jordan found value in that to push the team. And I think in some ways Krause was collateral damage in that. And I think I saw the Steve Kerr quote where he said – He said all those things I just said. He deserves incredible credit, but sometimes Jerry couldn't get out of his own way, and I agree with that too.
Well, Woj, when you do get around to it, it's a fascinating watch. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure it is. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I know I'll see it down the road.
Okay. Hey, Woj, thank you for the time. Really appreciate it. I know it's been a while, but congrats on everything that you have built. I mean, from your own bare hands, man. And I know what a platform it is to be on ESPN. And the listen with you, Schefter, and Passon were terrific, talking about covering.
Oh, I appreciate that. It was a lot of fun to do, and I appreciate the kind words, Rich. Right back at you.
You know how I feel, Woj. Thank you for calling in. We'll chat soon. I'm sure you look for my call. Look for my call because this is a fluid story, to say the least. Obviously.
For sure. Okay.
You got it.
Have a great weekend.
You got it. The you too. That's Adrian Wojnarowski here on the Rich Eisen Show. Normally, I like to ask questions to which I already know the answer. But there are times where you just assume. He hasn't watched The Last Dance yet. I mean, out of everything that
of everything he said.
That was like a Dwight Gooden 12-6, midnight to 6 p.m. curveball. I just that got me wobbling right there. And that was a Woj bomb. That's the Woj bomb. That's why we got it up there on our leaderboard, because we couldn't fit Wojnarowski on line 2. But it says Woj bomb right up there. All right, 844-204-RICH, number to dial. We'll take your calls. But David Feherty up close from a distance. When we come back here on the Rich Eisen Show on NBCSN. Did I just stroll into something, you think?
What happened? Oh.
What do you think? Do you think I just strolled into something?
About him not watching The Last Dance? It's crazy. Maybe he's just been so busy.
He's probably been busy.
Reporting, getting his ducks in a row for this big story about the league coming back.
Some people wait to watch.
I imagine Woj had the opportunity to watch him ahead of time.
I don't know. I know I can't watch it live. I know I can't watch it live.
I watch it like a minute or two behind.
I'm usually about a half hour, 45 minutes
For
behind.
stuff like this, if I had my druthers, meaning end of a long weekend, quarantine with 3 small children.
Yep.
I would start it 15 minutes in.
You can fast forward a little bit.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that would come around.
Go right through it.
Fast forward a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Look at that. It's so great. It really is so great, man.
Yeah.
It's so well done.
I'm going to be sad when it's over.
I know. I actually said that to Brockman. I'm like, I love this.
I know.
And I'm not a NBA guy. Like, I don't, these guys, I always make fun of them.
But this is our.
But I love this. This is our generation.
Do you know what it does? It makes me feel old.
It does.
I can't believe that this is 25 years
20,
old,
yeah.
and that this is
crazy.
This is the stuff we lived through, and it's worthy of a documentary, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Who was the player that when they retired, you really felt old because you remembered beginning to end?
Derek Jeter. Rivera. How about that?
It was Shaq for me.
We're about to, this summer, we talked about it, Jim, at NFL Network. Polamalu, when he goes in, is the first player to be inducted in the Hall of Fame whose entire career, start to finish, was during NFL Network's creation. He's the first one.
Wow.
And we were just like looking at each other. We're like, oh, God, we've been around this for a while, and we're old.
Wow.
Jeez. Polamalu.
We determined that. Ed Reed came in before NFL Network. Ed Reed was already playing. But in terms of NFL Network comes on the air.
Wasn't Ed's first year?
We watched
03?
him drafted, and we watched him go into the Hall.
And he was in the Pro Bowl with us the first
one.
year, right?
I don't know.
Palma was definitely one of the first Pro Bowls.
First to play his entire career and then have 5 years out.
Oh, Ed was 02.
Yeah, Ed was 02.
Yeah.
That is.
So we're back in a second. Eight 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. If you're on hold, please stay on hold. We've got Jameis Winston coming up in hour number 3. Billions is returning to Showtime, and the co-creators of that great show will be joining me later on this program, Brian Koppelman and David Levien. But I turn right now to the phone lines, and I guess at the front end of a home and home, because as soon as this show is over, I'm sticking around to have a conversation for his program, Feherty Up Close, parenthetical from a distance. NBC and Golf Channel analyst right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Once again, David Feherty. How are you, David?
I'm doing fine, given the circumstances, Rich.
I know. Is everybody fine in your family? Everybody good?
Yes, everybody's fine. I have a son who is a correctional officer who has volunteered to be in the COVID-19 part of the prison. So that's a little bit of a worry, but, everybody's fine.
Okay. Is there anything you'd be up for sharing on that? Again, I don't want to press too much on anything on the personal front, but that is something that we're hearing quite a bit about, our correctional facilities being at the forefront, right in the middle of this whole thing, David.
Yeah, they are. They've been fortunate in Rory's establishment there in Denton County in Texas, and they only have one inmate at the minute. But you're right. In prisons around the country, it's been a huge problem. So I mean, it's a worry. There's no any parent would worry about that.
Sure. And then obviously what you're doing and what we're attempting to do every day is to take people's minds off things and continue to talk. Are you hearing anything about when you think the golf world might return? I know we've got that exciting Tiger Phil, Peyton Manning, Tiger and Tom Brady match coming soon. But what are you hearing about potentially the return of the tour?
Well, from what I understand, they're going to play the Colonial Tournament in Fort Worth without spectators, and that's I think June the 6th. Mm-hmm. I want to say, but I mean, playing without spectators, it's like having cornflakes without milk. I don't know. I think I had an idea about this. The way they get a laugh track,
sure,
on a sitcom,
sure.
Could we pipe in applause or something like that? I don't know.
I mean, we could. I mean, we could be the ones to give the golf clap too, David.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
We could do that. We could pipe it all in.
Yeah. I mean, I think to give it some sort of a feel of as ridiculous as it might sound, I think it would sound better.
So I know that though that Tiger and Phil and Brady and Peyton Manning, that's going to go off without any fans either. But it's just 4 guys, I guess, going around, and I guess you could be socially distant and all that. I just can't wait. I mean, I do hope this does get pulled off in June, and then what the Masters may look like in the fall. I mean, it's just really all over the map. I just want to give you the floor and what you think this golf season could look like. David.
Well, I mean, first of all, that Tiger's been socially distant for the last 25 years, so there's not much difference there. I mean, that'll be fun to see that match. But golf is the ideal sport for social distancing, if you think about it. I mean, the chances of 2 players hitting it anywhere near each other are remote, unless you're at the the top end of the game. So, I mean, the golf courses here in Texas are open or opening, and people are playing. The cart situation is, there's a lot of golf courses are open for walking, or if you have your own cart, you can use it, that kind of thing. But the golf season, I mean, it's interesting to me how they're going to cover it with overlapping with football and every other sports. Is Jimmy Nance, is he going to be at the Masters, or is he going to be doing football? I think you can bet that he'll be there on Masters Sunday.
I think did we ask him that question, Chris? We did.
He's going to choose golf.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, he pretty much.
But
let's hope.
Who's going to cover what, and when are they going to cover it, and how are they going to do the timing of it? I mean, it's there's a lot of moving parts to get in the right place. I wouldn't like to be in charge of it, that's for sure.
David Feherty, host of Feherty Up Close from a Distance, which you can catch again on Golf Channel's YouTube page. New interviews being added weekly. I'm appreciative of the invitation to appear on this, and I'll be recording that later on with you, sir. What are the topics you talk about with people? I get that question all the time. What do you talk about when there's no actual live sports? So I'll give you that very same question, David.
Yeah, well, it's more of a personal sort of a thing. I mean, how are you dealing with this situation? What are you doing? I mean, like, what did you do yesterday? And get into a little background, people as well. I've been doing some terrifying research on you.
Terrifying research. Okay. Is there anything I can help you with? Is this a pre-interview, potentially?
Well, I suppose it would be, really, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Well, David, I screamed at my kids for 3 hours trying to win Father of the Year. Then I played video poker with my buddies on a Zoom last night for about 4.5 hours. And that was my day after doing the Rich Eisen show, a TV radio show.
I've been sort of a half man, half mattress here. Me and my beagle. Are curled up together for much of the day. And she caught a squirrel, which was the highlight of my week. She caught a squirrel a couple of days ago, which was just a miracle.
No kidding. That's the highlight of your week. That's where you take a picture or something like that, David?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, you've gotten some obviously interesting guests. Smoltz. Now, Smoltz is he scratch, David?
At one stage, I think he was in the plus figures, maybe as low as +4.
I can't even imagine that. Basically,
John is a terrific player. He really is. He's the best of the celebrity players, no question, or has been. But the game is. It's always amazed me just how many people love this game. I've got you on today. A little later, I've got Michelle Wee, which I'm recording, and George Lopez. It's a kind of a broad brushstroke, of people that are coming on the show. It's really been a lot of fun.
Well, we had Favre on 2 days ago, and he said he shot a 79. That was the same day we had Elway on, who said that his game, he hasn't played it in a long time. But Favre says he's just beginning to break 80, and Elway really wouldn't. He said he kind of just threw away that he was a 1. He hasn't played in a while. He's just a 1, and I was inspired by how he just threw away the fact that he's a 1. That really inspired me.
Yeah, just tossed it out there. Hey, John's a 1 at the moment.
That's what he said.
Yeah, it was very casual.
Very casual is what he said. Yeah. But we have Marshall Falk on. He refuses to say what his handicap is because he doesn't want to give out any candy. David.
Yeah.
You must know guys like that.
Probably quite right. Yeah.
You must know guys like that.
Well, yeah, I do. I mean, I know a bunch of people, that couldn't get down to single digits if they cut off a finger.
But what's yours, David? What are you playing to right now?
I haven't. People ask me that all the time.
Right.
I mean, how's your game these days? And I haven't played golf in 14 years.
David,
I got. People say no, sure. I don't. I can't. My left arm is crippled. I can't close my left hand from.
Are you serious?
From a bicycle accident. Yeah, from a bicycle accident. I got run over by a truck and a trailer in Dallas in 2007. I want to say, 2007, and it took me a long time. For a while, they thought I might even lose the arm. So there's been no golf, since then for me.
I didn't know that, David. I don't know if that's common knowledge or.
I actually got hit 3 times by motor vehicles before I quit. I woke up in a hospital in Dearborn, Michigan, wearing a turban for some reason. With a hole in my head. I have no recollection of that accident at all. I got hit by a motorist who just kept on going, apparently.
Oh, my God.
And then I nearly went through a windshield in New York, and that was riding the bike. It was starting to look like a hobby. An open tab at the ER was, so
wow.
I decided against that, and I haven't had any exercise since.
Now I know you're kidding on that, but hold on a second. So what's the best round you've ever had then? Give me the best round you ever had.
The best round I ever shot was from a blind hangover in the Catalan Open in eastern Spain.
Yeah.
And I shot 61 that particular day. I played with Alfonso Pinheiro.
Sure.
And he was. I threw up on the third tee.
Come on, David.
And because the night before, I thought I'd missed a cut by a shot, and my pal, Sam Torrance and I went out, and we had a few adult beverages.
Yes.
It was one of those nights where you say, "I'll have one more, and then I'll stay."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you stayed.
I got in about 4:30 in the morning. And I just happened to notice on the board at the hotel we were staying in, the draw sheet was up, and I was off first at 6:30.
Oh.
So I went out in 31, came back in 30, and I honestly can say that at no stage during the round did I know where I stood. So the following, I went from just making the cut by a shot to being 2 behind. And the next evening, I decided, well, I'd better suck it in here, and act like an adult. So I did, and then I went out and shot 75 the following day. So I'm not proud of it.
So what's the moral of the story then, David? Before I let you go.
Well, I'm not sure that it will be moral is the correct word for it. Yeah, I don't know what the hell, but I tended to play well when I didn't feel well.
Okay. Like Jordan, like Michael Jordan.
Thing in my career, I shot a couple of 62s. When another one, actually, I was hungover. The second one, not so much, but I think feeling ill or whatever took my mind off where the ball was going to go.
Sure.
And maybe made me relax a little.
David
I wouldn't recommend it.
Yes. I wouldn't recommend it. By the way, that wouldn't be a bad name for a book or your next book or your memoir. That wouldn't be bad.
True.
That wouldn't be bad, David. Just hey, thanks for coming on. I always appreciate it. I look forward to our chat. I don't think any stories nearly as interesting as the one you just told, but I'll do my best.
Oh, I'm not sure. I look forward to talking to you, Rich. Thanks for having me on.
Right back at you. Always. David Feherty, NBC and Golf Channel analyst. At Fehertwit on Twitter and Instagram. And again, check out Up Close, Feherty Up Close from a Distance. Available for fans to watch on Golf Channel's YouTube page with new interviews being added weekly.
You haven't shot a hungover 61, Rich?
Dude. I don't even know what to tell you on that.
Wow.
Maybe I should try that. The Catalan Open, everybody. You going out in Spain, you just say, screw it, I didn't make the cut. Oh, God. By the way, I'm teeing off in 2 hours. Then you shoot a 61.
Oof.
Wow. I once shot a 128 at a congressional.
Were you playing the tips?
I was playing the tips.
Oh, baby.
Oh, yeah, they were set it up for U.S. Open, and they had yet to cut the grass down. They were growing it out.
Yeah, before they trimmed it.
And remember, I think it was 17 at the time. 18 was the par 3. This is the time. I think they've reconfigured it now in terms of which hole's which. But 17 was a peninsula green.
Ooh, love those.
Straight downhill par 4, but it was so lengthy. And I parred it after snap hooking the drive so far left, it went off the top row of the stanchions for the fans that they had already set up, banged off it, center cut. And with the paint, off of the stands on my golf ball, went on the green and 2-putted.
Attaboy.
Yeah, you said that's not fair, though. If the stand wasn't there.
So there you go, man. That's a par.
Hey,
that's a par.
It is. Yeah, it's true.
It is what it is. It is, as they say. Jameis Winston of the Saints, and then the creators of Billions and you at 844-204-RICH in our final hour of this Friday show. To myself, okay, in the few minutes that are here, let me write an Ed Hockley retirement letter and read it out on the air. We then posted on the Rich Eisen Show feed, exclusive. The number of people that retweeted it and said they thought it was real is alarming. It's the only way to put it. So, God bless him. You know how much we love SVP. Is Scott on the line now? Is Scott there?
Yeah.
You thought it was real.
Well, I mean, as you said, you are a guy that has a reputation. You work at the NFL Network. You got sources. And when it was brought up to me in our meeting, hey, did you see the letter Hockley wrote? And I thought, well, that's funny. And then later, as I'm trying to write this script, I'm not finding it anywhere on like Google searches or whatever. But I'm like, where'd y'all see that? And then the producer that had it's like, oh, it's on Eisen's feed. So I read your feed, and I'm like, there it is. I see the quotes that work, and I just slam it in there on the script and read it on television. Fake news. Fake news.
Hashtag, yes. Hashtag fake news.
I'm mortified. Apologies to Mr. Hockley.
I'm sorry. We did not.
No.
That was not our intent.
Yeah, we didn't know it was going to happen like that.
That's entirely on us for not vetting, and it's been an alarm bell that goes off to me that I'm not able to find this anywhere but there. But again, and this is where I'll turn it and point at you and blame you, Rich Eisen. When you're a source of information and you got stuff no one else got, you think, yeah, sure, he's got the Hockley retirement letter.
And it's, I guess, believable that he's got his own stationery with himself on it, where there's a watermark of him as a ref.
As believable as it is that he's going to go sort out the lactic acid with a stretching regimen.
Vigorous regimen. Vigorous regimen.
I beg your pardon. Yeah,
You're the best, man. You're the best. I'm sorry.
You're the worst. Don't spoof me like that.
This is The Rich Eisen Show.
Boom!
Live from The Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
General manager of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is my buddy Mike Mayock.
Derek Carr is our quarterback, and we expect them to get better.
Earlier on the show, from NBC Sports Boston, Tom Curran. ESPN NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski. Golf Channel analyst David Feherty. Coming up, New Orleans Saints quarterback Jameis Winston. Plus, co-creators of the Showtime drama Billions, Brian Koppelman and David Levien. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Oh, hey everybody. Hour number 3, our final hour of the final show of this week, post-draft week. You know, it's amazing. It was just 1 week ago today where we came on the air here on the Rich Eisen Show and said, Jordan Love, huh? Jordan Love to Green Bay, huh?
Can't believe it's been a week.
And we had no idea Jalen Hurts was going to be a Philadelphia Eagle by the end of the night. But that's what happened. And then, of course, we all saw, if you will, the aftermath or fallout. I don't want to call it aftermath, fallout. It's just, you know, we call Brett Favre, he's the first guy I thought of.
Sure.
He lived it. He was in the NFL Draft-a-thon live draft room for a full hour. And the trade up for Love happened 15 minutes later when he said goodbye. Half hour later, maybe. And so the conversation that we had on this show on Wednesday, we would have had in the Draft-a-thon live room on the spot, although it would have just been a first blush reaction, not a reaction days later that was informed apparently by a conversation he had with Rodgers, which he said mostly private, except that he termed him a little surprised by it. And then Brett, being the straightforward country guy that I know, just putting it all out there, how he views this and how it is something that will eventually cause Rodgers to leave the only team that he knows. And it's difficult to just leave the only spot that you know. It really is. So he's just supposing that it's just going to end poorly because Love is eventually going to have to get brought in there to see what they have in him. And again, it's difficult to leave the spot that you know. I raised my hand earlier this week or 2-3 weeks ago when Jameis Winston was looking for a gig and said, I knew ESPN's the only spot that I knew. And to this day, it causes me to want to, beat ESPN as much as possible. As much as I appreciate their letting their guests come on this show, when I go head to head, I feel competitive. I really do. But I also appreciated the times that I had there. It informs every decision I make. My children are ESPN children. I met my wife there. So it's kind of difficult to move on. And that's how I bring in, for the very first time here on the show, or quite some time, the New Orleans Saints quarterback who I had a good chance to hang with 2 times last year, calling a couple of his games, and it was great to see him then, and it's great to chat with him now. He's Jameis Winston. How are you, Jameis?
What's up, Rich? How are you?
I am fine.
Thank you.
I am fine. My family is well, and I'm asking you the same. How is everything in your world with your family?
We're doing well. My parents are locked up in Alabama, and my family here in Tampa. We're really having a tough time keeping up with our 1-year-old. It's about to be 2 in a couple of months.
Oh, my word.
So it's all fun and games.
Oh, boy, yeah, quarantine with a baby. And it's true you got married, right? Did you get married in the midst of all this, too?
Yes, sir, I did. We had a quarantine wedding in my backyard.
What did that look like? What was that like?
It consists of her family, her intermediate family, my intermediate family, and it's about 7 of us. And got married. We got married in my pool. I had candles around the pool. I had some rose petals in the pool. We had one of my best friends, who's like my life coach, Savon. He was our chaplain. He married us right up on about a nice 8-foot arch. We had my dog, Tootsie. She walked in with me, and I had the DJ. I was the DJ and everything, playing the music when I walked out, and when my wife walked out, and we had a good time.
So that's how it rolled. So DJ, hopeless romantic, Jameis Winston here on the Rich Eisen Show. That's how I should read it. That's how I should refer to you. Is that wow? That's quite something, Jameis. That's great. And you know, yeah. I mean, so how would you call? I guess the last month and a half of your life, man. What would you term it as?
Doing this last month, I would call it a month of. I would say a month of resilience, right? Because I'm always a person I know is bigger than me, right? Despite what I've been going through professionally, mentally, I think this country this world has been suffering way more than me, which allowed me to be grateful for all the opportunities and for the people, especially on the front lines that are helping, protect us and helping serve this country to the best of their abilities, going over and beyond their job and their duties to help us. So I call it a month of resilience. This decision for me that led was me choosing the New Orleans Saints is definitely a resilient step in my book because I get a chance to be with a team who wants me, two, a coach that's a future Hall of Fame coach, and three, and probably one of the big ones is a Hall of Fame quarterback who has inspired me my entire life. So it's an excellent opportunity for me. But even during this time of me thinking about me, I can't because there's so much going on in this world, and I'm so grateful for the people that we have here.
No, look, you are blessed. And I think that's an excellent response to the way I asked the question because, again, you are a blessed man. You're blessed with God-given talents, and you just mentioned what you just had in terms of your wedding, and your family is healthy, and we do know what's going on in the world and what this means. And again, this is a game, obviously the NFL, but it is your life and your business and your career. So put it all together. Did Sean Payton or the Saints, did you ask if there was more than just a year? Like, could this lead to you being the next starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, knowing that Breeze might have a career in broadcast waiting for him whenever, he does have it waiting for him when he wants it?
That wasn't even, on my mind. What hit me instantly was the opportunity. And when I talked to Coach Payton, he gave it to me, straightforward. And he said one thing that I really admire is the chance to compete. The chance to compete with an amazing quarterback room and learn from the best. And I think that really sold me because I've been playing against them for 5 years, and I'm a firm believer in that room and what Drew has done and what he has done.
Have you had conversations with Drew yet? You connected with him?
About text. Me and Drew have spoken over the years, and he just welcomed me to the Saints.
Now, any of this fact that you signed with the Saints have to do with the fact that you stay in the same division and you might have an opportunity to face your former team, Jameis Winston?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about, beating the Bucs twice a year, every year for the rest of my life, but it's about being in that same division, being familiar with being in the NFC South and playing with Carolina, even though they have a new coaching change in Atlanta. Just being able to learn from a guy that is going to be playing against similar things that I've been playing against. And I think that was an excellent opportunity for me.
So when I asked you playing against them, you said beating them twice a year for the rest of your life. I think I did hear that correctly, correct?
I probably slid that in there somewhere.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, you might see them every now and then. No, twice a year, you're going to beat them and for the rest of your life. So how do you feel about the Buccaneers right now, Jameis? I mean, like...
I'm grateful. The Glazers gave me an opportunity that I dreamed of. Right. Jason Light gave me an opportunity with Coach Lovie Smith back in 2015, and it was amazing. I love my teammates, and that's always going to be the case. That's always going to be the case. I love this city of Tampa Bay. In the excellent 5 years here for me, just learning and growing and meeting new people. But at the end of the day, they're competition. This is my profession, and this is my career. And they gave me an opportunity, and someone else has given me an opportunity now. So I am loyal to them, and I'm doing my best to be the best teammate and best football player possible to help serve the Saints the best I can.
A few more minutes left with Jameis Winston here on the Rich Eisen Show. So much made of your LASIK surgery, Jameis. Do you think that your eyesight had something to do with your turnover rate last year? I mean, I'll just go straight for it. I mean, that's what people are putting them together here.
Yeah, I can't say I'm not making excuses. But I am going to get better. But I'm not going to make an excuse. I can say that the LASIK has definitely helped my vision and my accuracy. So I can say that. I can honestly say that because that's what I've experienced. But I didn't have my eyes my whole life. Now I got better eyes.
Well, I mean, no. So did you wear contacts during games? Is that what you?
So I tried my first. But I tried for 1 year. I think it was my third year, and it just didn't work, man. I don't really blink much. They were falling out. Like, they were uncomfortable. I just I got to get LASIK. It's anything that can help my game to help me see more precise. At first I was naive to the fact because I was like, hey, I done had these eyes my whole life. You know, they didn't brought me this far.
Right.
But after just doing the research, why would I not? You know, why would I not try to have the best vision that I possibly can have?
So yeah, I'm married to a woman. My wife had LASIK surgery after wearing contacts and glasses her whole life. I remember the day after she had it, she woke up, looking out the window from our bed, she could see like trees focused through the window. I'm serious. I'm not being facetious. Like, it was completely eye-opening, to use the phrase. So do you think that you'll be able to read defenses better with having not had any contacts last year and now having LASIK surgery now? Do you think you will actually be an improved quarterback because of it?
I think that it can help certain parts of my game in terms of IDing coverage and trusting my eyes a little bit more because I would be able to see a clearer picture. Mm-hmm. Quarterback has so much with getting pre-snap reads and, you know, finding your post-snap answer, but your vision and how quick you process information and how fast your eyes get to where they should go next is very important. So being able to see a clearer picture and get a fuller picture will definitely be helpful. But I got the same story as your wife. Me and my wife, we were in Starbucks getting some those white egg things. Sure. And I looked out the window and I could see gnats. Like, during the daytime, I saw gnats flying. I asked my wife, can you see those gnats? And she's like, I can't see those gnats. I got LASIK. I can see gnats.
Look at you now. Look at you. You're spotting bugs now. You're spotting bugs, Jameis.
You know what I'm saying? Absolutely.
That's amazing.
Hey,
if you could spot gnats now, you could definitely see where the safety is a little bit better. I'm sure of that. You know, there's no question about that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Jameis, I appreciate the call. Before I let you go, I don't care who knows it. And again, I'm sure you didn't intend maybe for it to be known, although you did tweet about it. So I feel safe bringing it up. You donated a ton of money to Run Rich Run this year, Jameis, to help St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I think you also put it on Jerry Rice to win his 40-yard dash in that regard as part of the run. I thank you. That was very, very generous of you. Very generous of you, Jameis.
Absolutely. I've been watching you run past few years.
Yes.
And I was just led. Actually, my friend, he challenged me.
Okay.
Because his friend was the other runner against Jerry, And I remember doing jump rope for life for St. Jude, and I remember going to Dick Vitale's event in Sarasota and learning about, childhood cancer, and it just really touched me. So when I was exposed to what you were running for, my heart God just led me to giving, man. So thank you for all that you do for
please.
St. Jude's too.
Thank you, Jameis. I appreciate that. Again, it was very, very generous. Okay, my producer says we now have a photograph of your wedding that we're going to now put up on the screen. Look at that. There you are in the pool. That is, there's flowers everywhere, candles. Look at you,
That
man.
is awesome.
Look at you, rolling the pant legs up. I like it. I like it. Candles.
Thank you.
The votives.
She deserved it.
The votive. What's your wife's name?
Her name is Breon.
Okay, very good. Well, now she's married to a man who could see gnats. She probably never knew that.
Yes.
Through a Starbucks window.
Yes.
There's something romantic about that, too. Jameis, thanks for the time. Appreciate it. Good luck. We'll chat soon.
Thanks, Rich.
You got it. Right back at you. That's Jameis Winston. New Orleans Saints. Here you go, Jameis. Buying egg whites through a Starbucks window. I was going to ask him, but I just, we're up against it. We got our billions conversation coming up. It's, as you know, for a long time, one of our favorite people that we've come across in this business, Denise, who was one of the best makeup artists around. She's with NFL Network now.
Yeah.
She always used to show us how many times her name was botched on the Starbucks cup.
Right.
Dense was one time. I forgot the I.
It was crazy.
Could you imagine how they spelled Jameis?
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
at a Starbucks?
Yeah.
On a venti?
No.
Oh. James.
Jims.
Macchiato for James.
I mean,
man, hold on, just real quick. If he's not seeing, if he didn't have contacts in and he's seeing gnats now, that's got to be helpful. That's got to be helpful. All right, the gentlemen who have brought Axe Cap, Chuck Rhodes, and the Billions cast to life, David Levien and Brian Koppelman, when we come back.
You remember when they used to screw my name up, Del Tufo, on the airport, and they would make fun. Everybody would make fun of me.
Did we ever page you once?
You did all the
through
time.
An airport
in Chicago O'Hare Airport. I'm like walking, all of a sudden I hear Mike Delta, and they messed my name up.
We would page him from time to time.
Torment me with that
in airports.
Like I'd hear I'd be walking
Del Tufo to Gate 4
because they knew they were going to screw the name up.
Oh.
It used to be fun.
That's
I
pretty
think
Mike
we did that
Connor
a
would
couple.
crack up.
Connor was the guy who would do it.
Connor would do it. Mike would do it all the time. It was
Del Tufo.
I'd hear
right.
Tufo, please call the courtesy. I'm like,
right.
What?
Hey, I know a lot of people have been hanging on the phone line. Please stay on hold for at least a few more minutes. The Billions creators, I've interviewed them earlier in the week. Don, are we just going to throw to that? Or are we going to come back to it? How do you want to handle that? Let's. I'll throw to it. Very good. Okay, so it was a great conversation. I love this show. People who say I've never watched Billions,
I haven't seen it.
So friggin' jealous.
I need to watch.
That this is going to be new to
Get
you.
into
I'm
it,
gonna. I
man.
know. I got
and
it.
don't worry. This does not spoil anything.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be ruined here. Okay. It's not one of those shows where one of these people is, in danger of being killed or death or anything like that. No. It's and the language, the conversation, the music, it's amazing. And these are the guys, by the way, who created the world of Rounders.
Right.
Which I do bring up.
Oh, good.
Rounders 2 is brought up to them. So we'll hit that. It's all good in the hood. Jameis Winston was not wearing contacts and said he can now see gnats. That's going to be helpful, man.
Except he's not going to get on the field.
Teddy Bridgewater thought he wasn't getting on the field either. And he went 5-0. And the Saints, God bless them, if they didn't have yet another gut-wrenching playoff finish, and I thought they were going to, I chose them to win it all.
Yeah.
You know that, right?
I do.
And I stuck with it. And I chose them to win it all. And the story was amazing. It was set up that the only way that they would get back to Miami, where they won their other Super Bowl, was if Teddy Bridgewater could keep them afloat. And he went 5-0. And now he's got a gig in division.
Paid. Yeah.
How about Jameis? Jameis, was part of the reason why you signed there because you wanted to see your former team? Well, the idea of seeing the Bucs twice a year, beating them every time for the rest of my life? What an answer that was.
Slid that right in.
That was great. All right. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. If you're on hold, please stay on hold here on youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. And we will be back on Sirius XM 211 when the NBCSN audience returns in mere seconds. The creators of Billions right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to the Rich Eisen Show. Great chat with Jameis Winston, David Feherty, Adrian Wojnarowski as well. We had Tom Curran of NBC Sports Boston on in our first hour talking about the Patriots quarterback scenario. If you missed any of it, you can go to our YouTube feed, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Please subscribe. If you hit that subscribe button, it does mean a lot to all of us here on our program. And one of the things that we love about this show, we're pop culture as much as we are about sports. I fell in love with this. This show had me at hello with Damian Lewis, who I loved from Homeland and Band of Brothers and so many other great shows, and Paul Giamatti, who I think helped me, Mike Del Tufo, if I'm not mistaken, Paul Giamatti helped me prepare for NBCSN and how to say the call letters, if I'm not mistaken. NBC. SN, right. So, from Sideways, and his dad is Bart Giamatti, and I bring that up in this conversation that I recorded earlier in the week with the creators of this great show, Billions, that returns to Showtime this Sunday night. Brian Koppelman and David Levien and I had a Zoom chat, and here are the contents. Roll it. I'm now joined here on the Rich Eisen Show by two friends, and I'm pleased to be able to say that, and also even more thrilled to be able to say that their fantastic television show, Billions, returns for season 5 on Showtime at 9 Eastern and Pacific. The creators of this show, writers, creators, producers, they're the hyphenates galore, Brian Koppelman and David Levien. How are you guys doing?
Yeah. Doing great, Rich. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you back here.
Rich, you're part of the family of the show, man. It is a special thing for us when somebody first of all, you've been this enthusiastic booster of the show since the very beginning.
Yes,
but more than that, you came to play. You were jammed too. It was not easy for you, and you turned your life inside out and came to New York. And then, you had to sit next to Bob Menery for 5 hours.
On-air talent. We put him next to a maniac. It was hilarious.
And we all love Menery. He's the funniest man in the world. But your professionalism and heart that you brought to that thing, while Menery is next to you doing God knows what in between setups.
Well, I got to tell you. It was my pleasure to bring professionalism to easily the worst fight in the history of pugilism, I think.
That was the goal. That was the goal.
Dollar Bill versus Maffei. And the crazy thing is Kelly O'Coin, who plays Dollar Bill in the show, who I love.
Yes.
He broke his rib during the episode that was shot for the previous season, right? He broke his rib in that scene.
Well, I think we have to...
Maffei, who was playing a character that can't throw a punch, managed to throw the first punch in the right way and break the guy's rib right out of the gate. And then Kelly had to suffer through 9 hours of shooting with a broken rib.
If you think about it, we think of Maffei and the way we talk about him, this goofy thing. But Dan Soder is a big man. He's 6'2". He played high school football. He's a good athlete. And, I guess he got in there and those instincts just kind of took over, though I guess the great athlete could pull the punch.
Yeah, you know what? And it was just a glorious day on the set, and then to watch the season play out, and then just another brilliant season of your show, Billions, again on Showtime, that returns Sunday night at 9 Eastern. And it's just I can't wait for it. So Brian, why don't you go first? What can people expect this season? What is the plot line for this season?
Well, I'll say this. We left off last season with things at a pretty heightened place where Chuck and Taylor and Axe kind of realized their turn to get one another. And this season does pick up dealing with sort of where these loyalties sit. There are new characters who show up this year who are very important. There's a character named Mike Prince, played by Corey Stoll, who you might remember from any number of the first season of House of Cards, and he plays Hemingway in that Woody movie, and he's had his own show, The Stain. He's just an incredible actor, and he's a rival billionaire to Axe, and so now Axe has at least a 2-front and maybe a 3-front war going as Chuck is really mounting his attack, and then you have Taylor trying to figure out how they can come out on top. So there is a lot of rocking and a lot of rolling on this season. Dave, what do you got to add?
Well, how am I going to come after rocking and a rolling?
Well, this is what I try to. You know what it is? I just try to do this so that you can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I think you did this and this for yourself. A rocking and a rolling. I'm going to leave it at that. I can't take it up from there.
You're saying I said it and I self-spiked?
Self-spiked.
So when this season begins, it picks up obviously where the last one ended. In terms of cameos, the sports stars that have been on this program have been remarkable. Durant, I think, made one last year. Do you have any more? Because the number of sports fans that are fans of your show, it's kind of a perfect Venn diagram overlapping.
Well, clearly, after you were on, we're going to take a big dip in the cameo department.
Thank you very much, David.
Tough to recover from that. But, we don't want to spoil any of the cameos, but we've been super lucky to have incredibly fascinating and talented people come on board as fans of the show. And if we can reach out to them through social media, or if Brian happens to know them as a close personal friend, then, we'll dragoon them into service on the show.
I will say, Dave, one of them is going to get spoiled ahead of time. So I think we can spoil it because he's in the trailer.
Okay.
He's in that look ahead trailer now. So, which will air Sunday, and his first episode is the following week. So we did get, and it's been incredible, actually incredible to us, guys our age, the human highlight film. Dominique Wilkins makes a great appearance this season.
So
and
Dominique Wilkins might be okay. So Dominique Wilkins will appear on Billions maybe before The Last Dance, is what you're saying.
Well, they've shown him briefly in The Last Dance, okay. I think, dunking maybe. But yes, he is, because I've watched all 4. He's great. I'll say this. Neek comes to play as he always did.
So he plays above the rim on Billions, and he brings a 2-handed rip type dunk performance.
He does. Dave, I think there's a rumor I heard that there was a horse game that happened.
Yeah, I think maybe between setups, a challenge was lobbed at him by one of the showrunners. And I think we were tight for time, so it wasn't horse. I believe it was pig. But how did that work out? How did that play out?
Now that you bring it up, I remember I played him in pig, and I destroyed him.
The shot was falling that day, wasn't it?
It was a crazy thing. 50 people are watching, and I went to the one-handed 3-pointers. And this is the truth. He was at first not taking it too seriously, and then I made a couple of them in a row, and then somehow I beat him. And I was trying to get out of there because athletes, Rich, how they are.
Sure.
And I really did beat him in pig. And then I was like, well, this is great. And Nick goes, no, it can't end like that. And I said, well, it just did. We got the P, the I, and the G. We're done now.
Right.
And he stands in front of the exit. He's like, no, one more. And this was so great. And I stupidly went, all right. I mean, what am I going to say no to him? And he was so pissed that I beat him in front of everybody. By the way, the greatest guy in the world, literally among the sweetest, smartest guys. It's incredible the success that he is in life and everything. And you could see why, because then he went, one more. I missed. I shot first. I missed. He went to the half court line. And he just took 3 in a row. Boom, boom, boom. And just took me out at half court.
Brian Koppelman, David Levien, the co-creators, producers, writers of Billions on Showtime, that returns again Sunday night at 9 Eastern time, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. The show kind of got a little bit of a pop when the Mets purchase was up for conversation recently, and that the potential buyer of the Mets was your guys' inspiration for the Bobby Axelrod character on the show. Is there any truth to that rumor at all, Brian, David, that you are basing that act was based on.
A-Rod, you're talking about A-Rod now.
Not Alex Rodriguez. Definitely not Alex Rodriguez. Steve Cohen, I believe, the owner of or he was a potential owner of the Mets. Is there any truth?
That story was sort of floating around out there because he was in the press a lot when the show was just breaking. But the character's not based. None of the characters are based on any one individual. They're fictional constructs. We've met and researched many people, both walks of life, the prosecutorial side and the investment side. But it wouldn't be accurate to say that it's based on anybody and not Steve Cohen.
The only character we've ever based on one person in the whole history of our career was Joey Knish in Rounders was based on a real guy named Joel Bagels. And that's it. That's the full extent of it.
In the history of you guys working together, that's the only guy that's
Knish. Knish is the guy. That's it.
Where is Knish these days? Do we know?
Sadly, we do.
Oh,
passed away.
On to his reward.
Rounder, not promised to be a long one sometimes, but he was a great guy and super generous with his. He was like our guide into the underground poker world in New York.
And he really did have the truck. You know how Matt Damon's character borrows the guy's pastry truck when he busts out and he's driving it? The real guy was called Joel Bagels because he had a pastry truck that he would loan out when guys were in trouble. It was all true. But other than that, we make it up. We combine people's, you take a characteristic from this guy, a notion from that, and you build an entirely new character.
We had Edward Norton on the show several months ago when he was on to promote Motherless Brooklyn, and he said that he would definitely be, and everybody would be interested in a Rounders update. Is there anything in the cards on that?
The cards. In the cards.
You like that?
Wow.
You like that?
Wow.
Can we turn and river this, mother?
That is professional broadcasting. That's what the difference is. That's That's how it gets separated out. Dave?
I only know one speed. What do you think? Is there I don't know if you're avoiding the question or because I love you guys. I'd love to see it. What do you think?
The question's a heartbreaker. This is an idea that we've gathered up the participants and gotten ready to go numerous times over the years. We've had meetings with money people. We've been ready. And then, this crazy sort of web of Hollywood rights happened where companies were sold and then other companies bought the underlying rights and then weren't ready to make movies. And honestly, it got so confusing. We just keep running into a brick wall with it. We have all the actors. We have John Dahl, the director, ready to go, but we can't just get a clear.
In fact, Mr. Malkovich wrote us yesterday, and not about that, but he wrote us yesterday just checking in on some stuff, saying hi. We talk to Matt frequently. We talk to Edward all the time. As you know, Malkovich was in Billions also. Sure. And so when someone comes to us where they say, we have the rights to the movie, we're ready to pay people to do it, we would all try to do it. But it's been very difficult to sort out. And, Rich, every day somebody asks us online, and I have fun with it, with answering their question, but nobody would like to do that more than us. I mean, we're visiting the characters who started our career, and we see the way people have bonded with these characters. You walk around with Edward or Matt, I mean, that's still what people bring up to them. And Malkovich says the same thing, and it would be an honor to figure out how to do it if we ever could get it going.
Yeah, it does seem that, Malkovich was channeling his inner Teddy KGB for your show. It seemed like he was kind of reprising that role in a slight bit.
We knew that the audience, we did have him say the word satisfied once. We knew the audience would make that connection, even though the characters were very different. And there were long runs in certain poker sites where people were figuring out how they thought Teddy KGB went back to Russia, became an oligarch, and then came back here under a different. None of that's.
No, it's great. I mean, it'd be one of the all-time runs to go from a backroom card guy and in 20 years roll up $20 billion in Russia and then come back to buy the Islanders. A great run.
Well, in the few minutes I have left with you here, the actresses on your show are just so amazing. There's obviously Damian Lewis and Giamatti stand out. Maggie Siff is a favorite of mine. They're all terrific. Only one of them, however, is related to baseball royalty. And I'm wondering, and I know you guys are big sports fans again, does the subject of Paul Giamatti's dad ever come up on the set, or is that just something that's asked, answered?
I can answer it like this. Paul lost his dad when his dad was young.
Right.
And so I think any conversations we have about Bart Giamatti are best left sort of like personal conversations. It's not really a part of the show. Once he had to reference Pete Rose, and he did it without on the show. Chuck Rhodes had to mention Pete Rose,
right?
And he did, and we just all kind of played through it.
Yeah, I mean, and I kind of feel a little bit like a heel even asking the question, because it is such a personal thing. But he's such an amazing actor, and he is, to me, one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, and his father was a legend. His father is one of the greatest guys. I mean, everybody who ever comes up to me to talk about Bart Giamatti for this reason, they always have an amazing personal story about a way that Bart Giamatti touched their lives, changed their lives. He was clearly a great man. And I think Dave, we both agree, it would have been great to get to know that guy, because his son is one of the greatest guys in the whole world.
Absolutely. Occasionally somebody on set who's been to Yale or knew his dad will come up and share an anecdote with him, and it means a lot to him. You can see how he touches people, and Paul loves hearing about it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Just anybody whose dad would pass away would love to hear when they came across, or a story like that. And I don't know. I'm just curious as to if he talks about it, or if it's anything like that, because it is such an important part of sports history and what a role his father did play.
No, of course. Yeah, I wish I would have. I truly, the way people talk about that guy. Even, the golf writer, Michael Bamberger, he, the great golf writer, just wrote that great book about Tiger Woods. So Bamberger was on my podcast recently, and we know each other. We're friendly. And he knew Bart Giamatti. Bart Giamatti changed his life. Basically, Bart Giamatti and Paul made that guy want to be a writer. He had stories for days about how incredible Bart Giamatti is. So you do hear that everywhere. But as I say, Paul keeps that stuff mostly to himself.
So the future of Billions, for those who may not know, is this the penultimate season? There's going to be one more. Do you want to make more? What can you tell us about Billions?
Partner?
I hope never ends. David.
Well, we're ready to keep rolling. We'll keep doing it as long as it's fresh and exciting to us, and as long as the network wants to keep going. And it seems like that's firing on both sides. They don't order it many years in advance. We only go one at a time, but we are not planning on wrapping it up anytime soon, from our end of it.
I can imagine, as long as there's greed, and as long as there's capitalism, and as long as that's a driving force for a lot of people in this world, I kind of think you guys have a ton of stuff to work with, right?
I don't think greed is going anywhere soon. I mean, capitalism looked a little rocky for a minute there, but it's probably okay now that Bernie didn't get the nomination.
Well, and I do know, obviously, and we could begin to wrap up our conversation maybe around this, is what is going on in this world. I'm talking to you right now from the corner of my desk that I did all of my NFL draft coverage, and how immensely popular that it was, and to have you guys now with your series come in right now, it is just perfectly timed for people who want to lose themselves in that. But that said, at some point, everyone will get back to work, and so will the industry that you guys are so prevalent in. And then I imagine there will be stories, and everything will be run through the prism of what we're going through right now. I'm fascinated to know what Bobby Axelrod and Chuck Rhodes' life would be in a coronavirus or post-COVID-19 world.
So are we. That'll be. We will start writing season 6 over the summer. And we put all the stuff that's going on in the world, into the hopper, and we'll figure it out. Certainly, look, I just look at Dave and I talk about this all the time. It's funny. Someone just texted Dave and me earlier today to say, how you doing? And Levien, I thought your answer was perfect. And it's like beside the point how we're doing. I mean, there's so many people hurting, man. It's like, and that was Dave was just saying that to a buddy. It's like, we're all, the three of us are all in a pretty good spot here. We have jobs that we like doing, and we have some food on the table in a house. And so when we get back into it, figuring out how these characters are processing it and what's going on will be certainly fascinating thing to do. Right now, I think the two of us are thinking a lot about just people and seeing online the way people talk about being excited about the show coming back. If that gives them an hour or two of distraction and like some joy, then that feels great to us, and lucky to be able to be a part of that for people. It's it's such an intense and strange time for so many people, and the only way I can look at what our show might bring is how much I miss sports. I miss what sports give me, the ability to concentrate on something outside of my life, something that takes me away. I miss marveling at what athletes can do under pressure. And, I can't wait for that to come back. I know, David, you feel the same way. And I can't, I'm thrilled that our show can be that for some people.
David, appreciate it. Brian, appreciate it. Really appreciate your time here. Thanks so much. I can't wait for the beginning of your show coming up Sunday, 9 Eastern time, every Sunday night on Showtime. Billions is just a brilliant program. I can't recommend it highly enough. People should binge watch it if they haven't caught up. And if they've caught up, my wife and I will spend a little part of this weekend catching up just to make sure that we're as fresh as a daisy when
that's awesome.
Hits.
Thanks so much, Rich. Thanks for being such a friend of the show and friend to us. We really appreciate it.
You got it. You got it. That's Brian Koppelman. That's David Levien of Billions on Showtime right here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Can't recommend the show enough. It's going to be great. And there's one other TV event I want to tell you about when we come right back. TV event. I'm going to call it an event. Because I'm involved in it.
Ooh,
of course.
TV event.
Had me at hello.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's next right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Your phone calls at 844-204-RICH. Wrap up this weekend. Or we'll preview the weekend and wrap up this week when we come right back.
Event.
Yeah, it's an event. Television event. I can't say any more right now. I don't want to give it away. Don't want to give it away. Hey, do we have a best of the week to show when we come back to? Okay, very good. Do we also have? I guess we can't show. Can we show the video of Will Ferrell with the Seahawks?
Oh, this was
we
funny.
can do that.
We can't.
I don't know. I don't know if we have it.
Funny.
Did you see it? We don't have it. Did you see that?
He pretended to be Greg Olsen.
Yeah. Well. Pete Carroll introduced him as Greg Olsen,
which is great.
Pete Carroll was a straight man. They're on the Zoom. There's like literally 50 of them. The whole team's on a Zoom.
Yeah.
And like, hey, new tight end, Greg Olsen, and somebody who's much older than Greg Olsen who looks exactly like Will Ferrell wearing a 12 uniform.
I forgot Greg Olsen went to Seattle.
Oh, yeah? You were pissed. You thought you should get him.
I kind of wanted him.
You didn't have the cap space.
Don't have the cap space. Don't have the cap space for Andy Dalton.
Yes, you do.
Andy Dalton's not taking a $1.1 million deal.
Well, how do you know? Jameis Winston, you didn't think Jameis Winston would do that.
Andy Dalton is better than Jameis.
Jameis Winston has to pay for a wedding.
Backyard's small.
Backyard weddings. It's the way to do it. It's the way to do it.
I should have. He's behind the wheel of a car, right? That's what it sounded like, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he was driving.
So when people are driving, I don't know. It's tough to have a sit down, like intimate conversation sometimes. I don't know. I got to get that out of my head, certainly, since I'm right here doing a show like this. I know. Yeah.
I have some of my best conversations driving.
But I wanted to hook him up with you about DJing.
I would have loved that.
Maybe next time.
Next time.
I should ask them if were there 3 different laminates for all the guests at the wedding. Levels of VIP.
I'm doing remotes tonight. Remote DJs into the show.
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm taking remote DJs in and rebroadcasting them.
Are you doing your show tonight?
Yeah.
But other people's.
I'm taking their shows and putting them on my platform.
Oh, you're the Bill Walsh of DJs?
I'm becoming the Bill Walsh of online DJing.
A DJ tree?
I am the Bill Walsh of online DJing now. 10 years, Rich. August. 10 years.
do you have disciples? Do you have is there a tree? Is there like a DJ tree?
It's a DJ tree, but they're not. They didn't learn that. I'm more like Belichick. They weren't that good after I tried to teach them how to do it.
Wow.
I only have one good DJ.
So that's the Bill O'Brien of DJs?
No, the Saban.
The Saban of
the
DJs.
Saban of the DJ.
Mike Vrabel.
No.
Vrabel of DJs. It's very rare that I begin an interview with somebody asking, who's your real estate agent? But, Coach, who's your real estate agent?
Lisa Roberts. She does a great job.
You got a guest room?
Apparently. Yeah, there's a couple. You're always welcome, man.
I appreciate that. The fire in the background.
That was extra. Yeah, that was a bit extra.
Who took this photo? People want to know.
You know, you're allowed to have one IT guy there at your house.
And he stayed in the cabana, the IT guy?
Cliff, did you get in the pool at any point?
I did not get in the pool.
We're all fascinated. This is fascinating to everybody.
It is fascinating.
Give me a good Favre story. What do you got for me? Come on, John.
He always used to kill me when we're over there in the Pro Bowl for my walk.
What was it? You had the sachet? I don't know.
Well, I'd stick my rear end out and pigeon-toed and waddle up there. So it was a little overdone, but it got a good laugh every time he did it.
Had Elway on last hour, Brett. You nailed his walk down perfectly at Pro Bowls.
Oh, yeah. I got it down. We're both pigeon-toed, so it was pretty easy.
The drafting of Jordan Love by the Green Bay Packers.
From a relationship standpoint, it sends the wrong message. Green Bay's not going anywhere without Aaron Rodgers in the next few years. So I would do all I could to not burn that bridge. I think that they burned a bridge that's going to be hard to overcome.
You think he will not end his career as a Green Bay Packer just like you?
My gut tells me no. I think Aaron will finish somewhere else.
Deion Sanders, Jordan Love gets drafted by the Packers. What did you make of that?
I like it. You got to understand, man, you got a quarterback that's getting ready to tongue kiss 40, and you think it's absurd to finally start thinking about a replacement?
So, in your estimation,
great one.
Rodgers should be just fine, all chill, not a big deal.
A dog is not threatened by a cat. Rich, you've had some of your dearest friends. You've had your wife. You've had some darn right-out communicators host your show when you're going on leave.
Including you.
Do you worry about them taking your show? No, because you're a dog, Rich. You don't worry about a cat because your gift is your gift.
The All-In Challenge, I'm seeing so much about that. You're involved in that too, right?
I'm putting up a game day experience down here in Austin, Texas, in Darrell K. Royal Memorial Stadium.
What do you like during a game?
Know this, if anyone's bidding, and if you want to take any pictures or talk about movies or anything other than what's happening on the field, that's why we're going to get there early, because once the kickoff starts, I'm breaking a sweat.
So that's the Minister of Culture talking, essentially, not the Academy Award-winning actor, Matthew McConaughey.
It would not be good culture during a Longhorn football game to be having your mind or mouth elsewhere other than on the game.
Pretty much. Fun week here on the Rich Eisen Show.
Love it.
Lots of laughs, making news. That's what we're here for. That's what we are here for. We're here for you. Best we can be here. We're thrilled to be here. We love our friends at NBCSN putting us on from 1 to 3 Eastern. We love hearing from people saying that they're able to catch us all the time because we're streaming on youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show or on SiriusXM Channel 211. Podcast One is how you can get our podcast every single day. All 3 hours are put up on Podcast One. So go to podcastone.com/Rich Eisen to get your eargate going, to use we didn't even have Irv on. Maybe we should get him on next week. CeeDee Lamb's wearing 88.
88.
Jerry is the one who gives that out. Sort of in the way that, I guess every school, what's the 44 is the number in Syracuse,
44
right?
is the Syracuse number.
Right, because that's what Jim Brown wore.
Yep. Ernie Davis,
Right.
all the greats.
The number 1 is that number at Michigan. You got to earn that. And usually they'll give it to a very special recruit, 55 at USC. I mean, Junior Seau.
Right.
Willie McGinnis, double nickel. There is a double nickel there. So,
Man, speaking of Irv, NBCSN was showing some old college games last night.
Right.
Miami, Oklahoma last night. Irv, if you want to know how great Irv is.
Number 47.
Number 47, lined up in a three-point stance to go out for a pass, caught a 13-yard first down, celebrated like it was a touchdown in the Super Bowl. It was unbelievable.
He would give
He
you
had
that first
both
down.
arms up, doing the first down, ran
He was the
25
best.
yards across the field, celebrating. It was amazing.
The best.
Steve Walsh, the quarterback back then from Miami.
Covering the Pro Bowl when it was in South Florida in 2009, that was leading up to the Super Bowl that the Saints won.
Yeah, the one in
South Florida, and the practices were held at Irv's High School, St. Thomas Aquinas in Fort Lauderdale. It was like the Pope coming back there in South Florida. Man. I mean, it was amazing
It was
seeing
fun.
that.
I'm
Maybe
digging
we'll
all over it.
have Irv on next week. Because, look, Dion said other people wore, and again, that wasn't part of our Best of the Week package, but Dion talked about the girly stuff, how he was just joking about it, and that caught on a life of its own. I don't think Dion wants anybody wearing 21. He said he just had it for 5 years. But he's not going to feed any of that fire. No. Irv, though, 88 is that number in Dallas. It's not meant to be retired. It's obvious that Dez got it with his blessing.
But Dallas also doesn't really retire.
Got it from Irv.
Yeah.
No.
They retired the player.
Let's go to Ben in San Diego, who's been hanging on forever. What's up, Ben?
Hey, Rich. Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for making it. What's on your mind?
So I wanted to get your take on this with Aaron Rodgers.
Okay.
Maybe I was thinking Aaron Rodgers would want to go to another team down the road, sort of like Peyton Manning did after the Colts, to show the Packers, hey, I can still play, and you shouldn't have, given up on me with 4 years left on my contract by drafting a Jordan Love in the first round. And by the way, they didn't just draft him; they traded up for him.
No doubt.
And so I think that definitely shows a disrespect message, kind of like Brett Favre said this week to Aaron. And so I just want to get your take on that.
I appreciate it. When Favre said, I'll tell you one thing I can guarantee you, and then followed it up by saying, well, I don't know for sure, but I can guarantee you, which is the way I love that Favre talks, is that this is get the wheels spinning in Aaron Rodgers' mind, is what he said. And I just think, Ben, that the way that he's going to go about his business is to try and turn the kid into Garoppolo by basically forcing the Packers' hand, winning as much as he possibly can, maybe winning a Super Bowl or two, and basically saying, how do you like me now? Where are you going to go with me now? And then if they make the decision to go with Jordan Love, then he will have the attitude that you're having right now. But I don't think he's wanting to go to a different team right now. I think he wants to stay put. Nobody wants to leave. Thank you for the call. That's what I said when introducing Jameis Winston. Nobody wants to go anywhere. Nobody wants to go anywhere. Do you think Brady really wanted to go to Tampa? Like literally was thinking, one day I want to go to Tampa. No, it's just the circumstances were brought about where he felt that he just couldn't stay there anymore, and he wanted to keep playing. Circumstances were created where he found it untenable. You think Peyton Manning wanted to go to Denver? No. Namath wanted to go to Los Angeles? Montana really wanted to go to Kansas City? Everybody wants to play for one team. Everybody wants to be like, hey, Elway, you only played for one team. Hey, Strahan, you only played for one team. We had Joe Staley on yesterday. You only played for one team. Everyone wants to just play for one team because you don't want to move your family. You don't want to pick things up. You don't want to change in the middle of the stream. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has any desire to go anywhere. He wants to stay put. He wants to retire with just one team. Everybody wants to be routinized. I mean, he doesn't have kids that we would take out of school, which some people have that concerns. He doesn't want to go anywhere. But this was brought on by management. And this is now starting the clock. And this is what Favre says is going to rear its ugly head because it happened to him. And he knows how Rodgers feels because he was feeling that by Rodgers' arrival. So, again, this doesn't mean that the Packers think Rodgers is expendable, and this doesn't mean that Rodgers wants to leave the Packers right now. I don't think at all. And I think Rodgers is going to do what David Bakhtiari said when he was in the NFL Draft-a-thon live room, first blush reaction when Jordan Love was acquired with the trade, moving up. He was in the room, and he basically said, look out. Look out. Because when Rodgers has a chip on his shoulder, that's when he's at his best. And he's got that chip, and now obviously the Packers are going to want him to cash it in because that means that Titletown's got another title. And they will have that high-class problem presented to them, and they'll deal with it. I want to thank today's guests, Tom Curran, Adrian Wojnarowski, David Feherty, Jameis Winston, and the Billions creators. Brian Koppelman and David Levien. You mentioned, Chris, The Last Dance, which, amazingly, the Woj bomb of the day, Woj said he has not yet watched. You've got that on at 8 and 9 Eastern, and then you've got Billions, which you might DVR or whatever.
Yeah.
So you got that going on.
Big Sunday.
Television event starting at 1 Eastern time on Sunday.
Okay.
On NFL Network. All 6 NFL 100 all-time team shows back to back to back marathon.
Nice.
a marathon. That's a television event. That is easily a top 5 career feather in the cap for me. And it was amazing. Check out the Emmy-nominated Bill Belichick.
I have no explanation for what happened.
Watch that now, knowing what you know now about Brady and Bill and how Tom said he knew before the season he wasn't coming back.
Well,
to
he
New
knew
England.
it in the summer. This was shot in May, so it was before he walked into the summer. But everything that he walked into the summer was no doubt probably simmering in some way, shape, or form. And I use the word simmering on purpose. And Collinsworth, when he was on this show before the draft, pointed out that very subject. That's episode 6. It literally was the first episode we shot, was the quarterback episode, where the receivers were on in episode 2 that we shot the next day. I mean, later on in the day, the quarterbacks left. Brady, Staubach, and Favre left and ran into Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, and Randy Moss in the green room, and they all took a photograph together, and Randy Moss posted it on Twitter,
right,
and we're all like, no! But it was without any context.
Right.
So that's all on Sunday on NFL Network at 1 Eastern Time. I'm mandated to bring that up.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
Yes, have a great weekend, everybody. We'll be back on Monday at 1 Eastern Time on NBCSN at noon Eastern on Sirius XM Channel 211 and YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show. See you Monday.